right now, abruptly. Welcome everyone to another one of these interesting streams we have here. It is the last week of Autism Awareness Month, and I realized I hadn't actually done anything about autism this entire month, which is shocking. I was more focused on She-Hulk's muscles, I guess. So I decided to do a little video about it, a little stream. And to help me with this, I asked some people in my among who I happen to know who'd be up for talking about autistic people at the drop of a hat, and these two people showed up. So for those who don't know, mind introducing yourselves?
Hi, I'm Krim, and I have a channel here on YouTube, Crimson Ender. And I am very obviously autistic, and you can tell within a few minutes of meeting me most of the time. So I feel like this is a pretty relevant stream to my experiences.
For a second, the way you were phrasing it almost sounded like an AA meeting where it's like, "Hi, I have."
Hi, I'm Krim. I've got autism.
Hi, Krim. Madeline. Madeline.
No, I just read a chat that said and the mean green-haired trans girl on the
What?
So I'm still recovering from that.
Wait, what?
I'm kidding. Hi. My name's Madeline. She, her. I've worked with people with autism and various other mental disabilities, basically my whole life, from both a volunteer and professional standpoint. And recently I was diagnosed with mild autism and ADHD. So I guess I've got it all.
Oh, yeah, I feel like a lot of autistic folks definitely have some ADHD elements to them as well. As someone who has been co-signed into groups such as the Autism Trio, I'm pretty sure it's clear where I stand on the whole autism thing. I do want to read a quick super chat from Gavin Carruth real quick. Thank you so much. Can't join stream, but wanted to say autism has such a wide variety in types that sometimes calling something bad rep amounts to not my autism, which feels sort of ableist to an extent. Enjoy money. First off, thank you so much. That is why I wanted to have a panel to discuss this rather than just myself discuss this. I feel like with the discussion of autistic rep, there's so many different varieties. Again, autism spectrum is a spectrum. There's many symptoms that some people have and other people don't have. Some people are trained autistic people. Other people are plain autistic people. And it all depends on the circumstance. Different people have different elements at play. And this is a live, by the way. This is not a video. This is a live. This is live. So I want to get a different panel of folks together to discuss what is and isn't good rep, as well as where rep falls on a bit of a spectrum of our own. I'm going to demonstrate in a few seconds. But first, Mystic Blue, thank you for being a member for 4 months. Reminder, autism is more than mental. It's full body. That's also very true. There's a whole lot of elements too, including sensory inputs elements. There's the stimming. There's different textures you don't want on your body to touch it and get in contact with. These are all different elements of autism that are very important to discuss as well, which will be coming up in the process. So I guess I'll open the panel up to you two. What do you think of as positive rep? What do you look for in terms of autistic representation?
That's such a broad question.
Oh, I know it is. It's a spectrum of answers.
Like getting right to the heart of it. I think for me it's kind of like what we were talking about before the stream started. Is they have to just like be a character.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think at the very least they need to be somebody who is like exists for themselves, is not like a symbol or like a lesson for somebody else.
Mm.
From there, I I hate to use like, for me at least, I hate to use that porn analogy, like you know it when you see it, kind of thing. Because like again, like everyone has their own kind of view on what they consider like good autism representation and not, and what could seem like very over the top to someone may to another person be, oh, that's just like my particular spectrum of autism.
Yeah. That's fair.
I think it's at least really easy to know when it's bad. That's kind of the best that I can say about it. Yeah. And I do also think it's, I don't know if the conversation of like who is like really quote unquote autistic or not is really that important, because we are kind of talking about what people themselves kind of feel and feel seen by, because I know we're going to probably talk about some characters that are not canon autistic.
Yeah, that's true. We're going to be discussing a few people who demonstrate autistic features, because not all characters are confirmed to be autistic, but like, you know.
Right.
You know when you know it.
Well, I mean, it's also like to assume somebody is autistic is its own kind of problem, because like we said, autism is a spectrum, and there's a lot of layover words. There's like words that, or like symptoms that are in autism that are also in other mental conditions. And so yeah, like don't like leave this thinking, oh, I relate to this character, I must have autism. It's like it is a little bit more complicated than that, but just I guess just like, you know, feel it out.
Exactly.
Don't be a dick.
So Krim, what do you think?
Well, I think on that note, I think that it's also notable that like sometimes somebody will be like, oh, I'm just gonna make a character and they're a weird freak, and I'm gonna like make a character that's weird and freaky, and this is what I think of when I think of a weird and freaky person, and it's literally just somebody with autism. And then you're like, hey, that's kind of an offensive representation of autism. And then they're like, well, they're not autistic, I'm just basing it on the weird people that I know in my life. And it's like, hey, those weird people in your life, they're autistic, and you are unconsciously like creating you know.
Well, it's hard because most people, I feel like most cases of people with autism go undiagnosed. So like, for instance, I was undiagnosed until last year, even though my younger sister is autistic. They just never thought I had it as well for whatever reason.
I also relate to that. Like, I wasn't diagnosed for a very long time, even though like I'm a very odd person, and everybody can tell there's something off about me as soon as they meet me, and they treat me like I'm kind of young and kind of like, well, as some people have said to me growing up, touched in the head, if you've ever had the misfortune of being called that. But like all those things that people sort of associate with, like, oh, this person's just weird and they're just like that, but it's not autism. It's like, it's probably autism.
Oh, I mean, it was the same with me. When I got my diagnosis, I was telling my friends, like, hey, I was diagnosed with autism. And they were like, yeah, we know.
Yeah, I was going to say, I feel like everyone else
you didn't have to say that. Like, no, we all knew. You didn't have to...
Well, there've been multiple times I know people who like got diagnosed later in life, and they were like, yeah, I just got diagnosed with autism. I'm like, oh, just now? Okay. You don't want to be mean about it.
Oh, yeah,
like...
I talked to people that are like, yo, we assumed you had autism. Like, this isn't new to us.
Yeah,
we were just cool with it because you're cool. Because people with autism are cooler than people without autism.
Well, let's not have any autistic elitism here, Madeline.
Elitism, sorry.
Superior. I mean, some people have said that autism is the next stage of human evolution. Those people are ridiculous, but they have said it.
Is that like indigo children shit? My mom was so into that. Oh my god, I hated that.
We're gonna get into that actually with the Predator. We bring that up because that's a key plot point of that movie. But I'm sorry, Krimo kept cutting you off there.
No, it's okay. I actually did want to answer your question from before.
Go for it. I'm so sorry. Go for it.
I guess for me, autism representation isn't so much about like how the person with autism acts, because, well, like as you guys were saying, like all autistic people act differently, and like, who am I to say what characters are and aren't relatable? Like, good autism representation, I think, in my opinion, is more derived by the way the character is treated by the world and the narrative than it is about necessarily how quote unquote stereotypical they act, right? Because I think that there's a lot of people that act stereotypically autistic, and like they also deserve good representation. You don't know who's going to see themselves in what, and I think it's more about like how they're treated by the story and the world around.
That's valid. That's valid. I think I agree with that.
I'm mostly I do kind of want to push back on that a little bit, because I don't like the idea of society like defining who's autistic, even if it's a society within a piece of fiction. Because somebody can represent or be like have autistic traits, and they could just live in a fantasy world where they're treated well, and that works for them.
That's not really what I meant. I meant is this person treated consistently like the butt of the jokes? The audience is meant to laugh at them. They're always like failing and messing up, but it's funny. You're not supposed to like take them from their point of view. You are with the rest of the characters pointing and laughing at this person. That's what I mean.
I think one thing too that is important, and I'm going to be bringing up a lot with this discussion. Sorry, I missed my mic shake there a little bit. I think the big thing is if they exist for themselves or exist for other characters. I think is a big thing that we're getting on. Like, is the characters like motivation, existence? Is it for the benefit of the rest of the cast? Or are they a self-actualized character who have initiative and drive? Or do they just exist to drive development in other neighboring characters? As we're going to discuss over the course of this video, there are a lot of autistic characters who are very flat in terms of how they're written in the narrative and exist primarily to motivate and spur on change and growth in other characters. But also... Are they, and again, like what Krim is saying, are they the butt of the joke? Are they stereotypical so you can laugh at them as opposed to laughing with them about something funny? These are all elements that are important. And, I think one thing we're going to touch upon a lot is how pronounced the traits are in certain characters, which is not a fair thing to discuss because, like, obviously autism is a spectrum. Some people have more traits that you associate with autism that are more apparent, and others do not, and that's just simply the nature of the diagnosis. It's the nature of the beast, so to speak. That some people have traits that are more visible, others do not, and I think it's going to be important to discuss that going forward. But I think one thing I'm going to focus on the most with this discussion is what was the point of this character? How were they written? Were they written as a character first, or were they written as like an opportunity for other characters to grow first?
Can I also make a small addition to that?
Absolutely.
Is their autism something that they have to heal from? Is it like, the better you mask, like that's your character growth is based on how well you are, how good you are at hiding your autistic symptoms.
Exactly.
I think that's also really bad even if it is like centered on the character, if the whole point is like, oh, well, you don't really act autistic anymore, so you won. That was your story arc.
I hate the idea of the cure for autism because it's just not a thing that's possible. Like, you can't cure that.
That's the long arm of Autism Speaks. That still influences, unfortunately, a lot of Hollywood depictions of because they're still around. They're still a very powerful lobby, unfortunately.
Oh yeah, no, they're all over the place.
But it's I think it's also important to remember though, for a time that was kind of it. Like, we believed in the Autism Speaks method when my sister was diagnosed because there was nothing else. And it took a long time for us to even realize, like, oh, this is the worst way you can do it, but we didn't know anything else.
I'm going to push back on that slightly just because my spouse is a special education teacher, so I just hear a lot of the pedagogy about this. But essentially, a lot of the techniques that Autism Speaks pushes were taught by other specialists prior to Autism Speaks' creation. these were deemed at the time to be the best treatments for autism, as they defined it at the time. But Autism Speaks kind of didn't evolve with changing trends as well. They were still financing schools that dealt with electroshock therapy in response to autistic traits into the 21st century, as in like less than 10 years ago. Like, so, you know, they were pushing a lot of treatments that are, by all accounts, barbaric and horribly dangerous.
No, absolutely. This is all in the 90s, though, when it was much harder to get that information.
It was tough, yeah.
Readily, especially if you're like my parents who knew nothing about this stuff, and all of a sudden, you know, they have a daughter that is, I'll say, on the far end of the spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't know what to do. It's very easy for somebody like Autism Speaks to come in and say, "Oh, well, we're going to tell you, oh, you have this she has this horrible disease. We're working on a cure for autism," and it's really gross. But that was how I was raised for a while, thinking that like my sister had this condition that we needed to cure.
Yeah.
And it's really fucked up. It's absolutely terrible.
Yeah. We're probably not going to talk too much about Autism Speaks in this stream, only because because the less I respect their presence, the better. I do have a few super chats I want to read real quick. Gabe the GM, thank you for the super chat. As an autist myself, my personal favorite autistic characters are Luz. How do you say Luz from Owl House? Luz, right? Luz, right? Luz,
yeah.
Good. Luz from the Owl House. Max from Mary and Max. The worst are Music, Rory from Predator, and Rain Man. All of them will be discussed at some point during this episode, as well as more.
Luz is interesting.
Luz is great.
Luz is an interesting choice. I didn't see her as autistic. I guess we'll get into that when we get to Luz as a character.
She's not pronounced, but there's traits that are autistic, I think, about Luz. And not just because, you know, fangirlism and all that, but like I think there's a lot of like social interactions that she has that kind of lean towards some like prolonged eye contact, stimming, and stuff like that as well. But it's very subdued. I'm not sure if it's even intentional on the animator's part, but it's very subdued. Adrian Parchman, remember, screw Autism Speaks. Again, common sentiment among the chat, I think. Some kid named Charlie, thank you for super chat. Ace Attorney has some characters I like to headcanon as being on the spectrum, such as Edgeworth. I don't know if Edgeworth is on the spectrum, but he's definitely something. Love Edgeworth. I love Phoenix Wright. Those characters are great. And Comets, thank you for the super chat. Personally, I wish there was more ... bad autistic rep, because I don't see the messy autistic experience I had of wanting to get rid of it and the worry if I can live in society. That's also a fair point. You know, we need to have some. I've mentioned this before with like LGBTQIA rep, where sometimes bad, messy rep is sometimes really good. It shows, and I mean, when I say bad, I mean quote unquote bad, not literally bad. Where it's kind of like discussing the messier side of things. I agree. Arthur Clybourne writes, thank you for super chat. If we're talking good autistic characters, I have to give some love to Addie and Keaty from A Kind of Spark. There we go. All right, we'll have a shout out for them. Now, of course, I have a graph here that I think is very important to discuss autistic traits.
Of course,
yeah,
we're plotting this on a graph. That's the most autistic thing I've ever seen in my goddamn
Here's
life.
the chart. I think there's a very fair depiction of autism here.
How dare
I think
you?
this is very reasonable.
Hold on. I don't see the chart. How do I see the?
It's on on the Discord chat.
Oh, okay. This is
I think it's a very reasonable depiction of the discussion.
I love that autism charts and just like fan shipping charts are the same. It's like it's a 1-to-1.
Madeline, I love how Grim is dying.
So innocent.
This is extremely funny to me.
This is one of my favorite Lily Orchard charts. I collect these. I collect bad Lily Orchard.
Okay, now that I know the context, is Red like the most autistic?
No, they're the bad autistics.
Oh my god. Okay.
And Blue is the good autistic.
I thought this was like, is Imhotep from the Mummy on there? Oh my god.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so is Imoen from Baldur's Gate fucking 1 and 2. Was not the impression I got from the character.
I
but
didn't
okay.
get any impression from Imoen from Baldur's Gate.
Oh, and one of those characters is an OC, by the way.
Yeah, and then there's
cool.
And then there's Ultron. just Ultron right here, just for the sake of it.
Oh my god!
I love this because I think this is perfect in explaining that like nobody knows what autism is,
especially Early Orchard.
From this graph, it's great. Good for society.
Although a couple of these characters may show up again in our actual graph that we're going to be making. Like I may include Data. Maybe, I'm not sure yet. We'll get to that. We're definitely including Laos. This is what happens when you Laos. What's happens when you read the manga more than watch the anime? You forget all the pronunciation of names. It's terrible. It's actually bad. Anyway, this is the actual chart. Maybe knock this off here.
Can't believe you made me look at that with my own 2 eyes, Anthony. I'm freaking menace.
I apologize for nothing. Yeah, let me adjust this slightly so it's a little easier in the eyes. Okay, cool. So we have here an X and Y axis, something I've wanted to do for a little while now. But in terms of like, a little bigger here. We're going to take a bunch of pictures I'm going to find online and drop them somewhere on this XY axis. So based on discussion, the metrics are they more realistic or are they more stereotypical? Are they defined by the self or are they defined for others, essentially? That is to say, are these characters exist more for the sake of other characters around them, or are they self-actualized characters who have their own initiative, drive, and etc.? Are they?
I wish there was the Z-axis, but I don't know what it would be.
Yeah, I wish there was more too, but unfortunately, I can't figure out how to edit three-dimensional space on this. And
that would break my brain. So I'm glad we didn't figure
it.
Make it bigger or smaller, as if it's farther away.
What?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Bigger or smaller, like the bigger ones that are no, because that would start taking up way too much room. Never mind. Don't pay attention to me.
A couple super chats. Adrian Parchman, why is Ultron on the graph? I have no idea why Ultron is on the graph. It makes.
I have
you
a
can
theory.
get the graph, let me know.
I have a theory. It's a. I think we're gonna get into some of these bad depictions, but I almost don't want to say it because I know we're gonna talk about something similar to Ultron probably.
Probably.
Because I don't want to spoil it, but I'll just say it. People seem to think that like if you act like a computer, you're autistic, and it's really dumb. I really hate that stereotype a lot. Like, sure, there are people on the spectrum and neurodivergent that are like that, but it's not what Hollywood thinks it is.
Agreed. Okay, another thing right here. Kyla Bones. My favorite is Abed Nadir from Community. We're going to talk about Abed as well later on. Community is great. I love Community. It's so funny. And we're going to talk about another Dan Harmon character as well later on as well. But I'll save that for a little bit. First and foremost, though, I have my first. The first thing I think is worth discussing.
Wow. Let me guess.
Music.
Oh,
by
boy.
Sia. Everyone's favorite autistic movie, Sia, the Academy Award nominated film Music. Yeah, it really was up for an Academy Award, which should tell you something about it.
For what?
I don't know. It was for something. Editing, maybe? I don't know. It was something.
Amazing.
Something. It was bad. Have you seen Music?
I did not see
terrible.
this movie because I didn't want to go into a blind fury. But the trailers made me want to die.
Yeah,
so,
that sums up the experience of watching Music as well. So, based on my memory, because I've only watched this movie once, and I blocked most of it from memory, there's Kate Hudson, her younger sister is severely autistic, and she has to start taking care of her younger sister, and does things such as fully pressing her body weight on her to keep her from throwing a tantrum, having her, when she has like a meltdown, Kate Hudson physically throws herself on top of Music to compress her.
See, the thing is,
Mm-hmm.
is that that's based off of one person's experience. It was, what's her name? There was a woman with autism that came up with sort of like a pressing machine, and there's like
you're
a
thinking
biopic
of,
on her. But like
with the farming science, right? Yeah.
yeah, but
what's
the
her name?
thing is that she
Temple Grandin.
yeah, but the thing is that she specifically didn't like to be hugged or pressed down on by people. She liked her machine because she controlled it, and there was no like body heat, etc., etc. So like that, and the whole like autistic people do tend to like things like weighted blankets for like that is different than a person pressing down on you non-consensually while you're having a meltdown. That's different.
Very different.
And it drives me crazy that those two things are
conflated. Yeah. No, I hear you. Another factor too that's worth discussing with this is that when you have physical compression like that, some people can do it very dangerously and put pressure on parts of the body that should not have pressure put on them, like the throat or organs, which is very dangerous. And especially if someone fights back to keep someone from moving, that can cause bruising, that can cause cuts, that can cause, in some cases, broken bones, even crushed ribs in some cases. Like there's even taking into account Temple Grandin's studies, which was originally designed for farm animals. I want to add too, because Temple Grandin was a farming scientist. That technique was done to calm down cattle initially, and then it was applied to like weighted blankets and all that with autistic children.
Cattle, pretty famously bigger than people.
Yes.
And we're talking
so she also used it for herself
like
as well.
Is the thing.
She did.
Like this is terrifying.
No, she did use it for herself. That's also true, and that's how it got applied to autistic people as well. But people have died from this technique in real life. So the movie endorses it as not only like a good technique, but the best technique you can employ when someone's having a meltdown, which is horrifying. And this movie was, what's really funny, I think, and ironic, is that Sia was later diagnosed with autism.
Aww.
Which is interesting. I think it's kind of funny, actually, where it's like, she's famous for making one of the worst depictions of autism in modern cinema, yet she herself is also autistic. Yeah.
She flew too close to the sun.
Yeah, what Maggie?
No, I don't know how to respond to that.
What was her name? Maggie Zegler, I think her name is, who played music. She was brought to tears multiple times while making this movie because she was so afraid that she was going to offend someone. Because Sia kept directing her to go further and further and further, and she's like, I don't know about this. As a kid, she's like, this feels wrong. I don't know. I don't feel comfortable with this. But I trust you. I trust your judgments. And it's like, well, she misplaced her trustment, apparently. It's terrible. Yeah, it's really sad. It's a really sad situation, this whole movie. What do we think about it? What do we think it ranks on this this XY axis here?
I think it's got to be on the bottom right. This is like the textbook example of like a really bad depiction. It's a stereotype, and it's not for her. It's for what is it, Gwyneth Paltrow, whoever it is?
Kate Hudson's character. Yeah, it's the benefit. She learns the lesson.
Yeah. So as far to the far right is the bottom right.
Yeah.
Right down on the corner.
There we go.
That's about as close as you can get.
Perfect. Also, that's not even getting into the whole murder subplot in the movie.
I don't need to know that.
This is like it's like a random subplot involving a different set of characters and one gets murdered. It's like really violent and upsetting, and I'm like, what does this have to do with anything? It's really bizarre.
I guess just having an autistic person wasn't exciting enough.
Yeah,
you have to have murder.
Oh yeah, Oh, it's horrible. It's deeply disturbing. I do not like this movie, in case you couldn't tell. Okay, let me get a different example. And by the way, chat, if you leave a super chat telling me to rank a certain character, I will. There's a few characters already mentioned I'm going to rank later on. But I want to have a more positive example right here, and I think this will feed into at least one of our autistic micro obsessions with this one. Let me bring her up here. What do we rank Peridot from Steven Universe?
Okay, this is really hard because she is my favorite character on Steven Universe.
Yeah, same.
Oh
Same.
my god.
Love Peridot. Peridot's great.
Well, Krim, you can go first. I need a minute.
I think she is a bit of a stereotype, but I don't think that's a bad thing because, like, she's very lovable and very relatable. You know, it's okay to be a bit of a stereotype. Like,
Oh yeah.
like, I don't know. What are those stereotypes even for? I think they're there for us to feel. Well, at first we're kind of laughing at her for being weird, but I think that Steven Universe does this wonderful thing with her character where we realize, like, I think of that moment where she experiences rain for the first time, and she's so scared at first of this unfamiliar situation, but then there's just this moment where she, like, kind of, like, is brave, and that's, like, a big growth moment for her, and that's the moment that we're invited to start relating to her as a person, instead of just, like, this weird little gremlin creature that's been, like, a thorn in their sides. Yeah. And I think of that moment, and one of the other moments is that I really like of hers is that Peace and Love on the Planet Earth song that they do, and her just kind of, like, learning to fall in love with the planet. And that's the thing is that, like, that's the same arc that Rose Quartz and the rest of the Crystal Gems had, but we're the first person that we really see that experience through is Peridot. Before we really see it through Garnet or even Amethyst's and Pearl's eyes, we see Peridot is the first person we see going from, oh, this is just a pile of rock that I want to use as resources, to this planet is beautiful and unique, and we see that arc through her eyes first. And I think that is very meaningful, and I don't think enough people talk about it.
I agree. I think one thing is really interesting too with Peridot is the use of technology and how she interacts mainly through technology with her first with her limb enhancers, then with, like, using iPads and stuff like that, and then her skill becomes, like, controlling technology, kind of working through technology as, like, almost like a power of sorts. I think it's really impressive how they incorporate her little, like, her hyperfixations into her character arc, both as a defense mechanism, but then also as, like, a strength. I think that's really good. I love the scenes where, and when I say love, I mean it's a bit of a strong word, but I love the scenes where she accidentally offends Amethyst, where
she does it to Pearl too,
and Pearl also, but I think the one with Amethyst stands out to me a little more because, like, she really does feel guilty about it, but has no idea that what she's saying is offending her so much. And, like, she's so excited, like, because she thinks, like, oh, she thinks it's funny when I say this, so I'm going to say this to a higher and higher extent, and accidentally ends up hurting her, but she's so enthusiastic about trying to make Amethyst like her that she doesn't realize what she's saying.
We have all been there.
Oh, all it's so relatable. Like, it's like, and, like, she doubles down repeatedly, but doesn't pick up on the fact that, like, she's really upsetting her. And I think that's such a really well-written moment of of a very honest depiction of autism, where, like, someone's trying to say something to make them like them, and they say something inflammatory without realizing it. It's so realistic.
Absolutely.
It's so realistic. It's so well done. I really love. And also, I just love the bits where she freaking watches the one episode of that show, like, on repeat for, like, hours, and then it's like there's more than one episode. Like, just, yeah, that's relatable. If you had a VHS tape of, like, one show and, like, kept rewinding it over and over again forever and didn't know there was more done that, yeah.
Yeah, that was my childhood. I watched the same thing like 5,000 times.
Yeah, I didn't know there was more than, like, 5 episodes of Gargoyles for, like, years. I just watched the VHS for the first 3 episodes. Sorry, Madeline, what were you gonna say?
Yeah, I agree with what everyone is saying. God, even before I realized that I was autistic myself, Peridot was one of the most, like, seen I ever felt from an animated character. I didn't even realize that she was autism coded until somebody pointed it out to me. I'm like, oh my God, you're absolutely right. Her and another character who I'm pretty sure is going to show up on this list are basically, like, my two, like, I am crying and I don't know why about these characters. And it's like, oh, it's because it's they're me, and I really relate to it. What I love specifically about Peridot is that she goes through an arc that I find extremely relatable, because at the beginning of the show, she is one of the bad guys. She's this enemy character that's going in, very much has like this soldier mindset of like, we gotta go in, I gotta beat these things. But then once it all kind of falls apart for her and she joins the Crystal Gems, she starts to open up and express herself in a way that's authentic to her, which is like even more like neurodivergent coded. And I find that so beautiful as somebody who has basically masked my entire life. I find that extremely relatable to have like this idea of like who you are, and to like break that down and realize that you were never that you were something like better, like more beautiful than that. And I love her for that. She's one of my favorite characters of all time. I love Peridot.
Yeah, I love her too. She's fantastic. Sorry, I poured too much tea in this cup.
I heard it.
It was literally right at the cusp of pouring over the side. Okay, so maybe a few super chats before we get started, before we place Peridot on here, because we got a bunch just now, and a couple of recommendations as well. User 225, difference between direct ASD rep and autism spectrum disorder rep and popular headcanon. There is some difference, I'd say. I'd say the traits are pretty obvious if you look for them, but I understand also there is a difference in canonically versus implied. We're going to kind of blur the line a little bit for the sake of having more examples, and more dynamic examples too. Oh, yeah, go for them, sorry.
I have a question for you, Anthony.
Mm-hmm.
Are we doing this all stuff that you have prepared, or can we do like a round robin situation? Like, what's the rules here?
I am copying the images off of Google. None of this is pre-planned. I'm literally taking the images off Google, which is one reason why I like this model more than the tier list, because all of it has to be pre-planned on a tier list. This is just whatever you guys come up with, I'll plop it in. And it could be a round robin, absolutely. In fact, that's a good idea. We'll do a round robin. That's even better. I like that idea. That way we all have a chance to throw someone in the mix.
Maybe we can also do like you, Madeline, me, and then audience.
Yeah, that's good. That works for me.
Oh my god. I don't know how I would do that for myself.
I think we did get one recommendation from chat, which I will include as a super chat, so I will do that. Then from here on out, we'll do like polls in the audience for this. Actually, got a couple from the audience we can probably throw in. I'll hold on to them for the round robin mix, but that's a good idea. I like that. Adrian Parchman. Remember Sia and Maddie Ziegler appeared in Scooby-Doo and Guess Who? Also, Fred from Scooby-Doo Mystery Inc. Next chat from Arthur Cyborn writes, Fred Jones is depicted in Mystery Inc. Incorporated. A lot of people want to do Fred from Mystery Inc., which we will definitely include at some point. Also, Hido Potato, Kiryu Kazuma from Yakuza. I've seen memes saying he's autism coded. I don't know if he's autism coded, but like I do see that. I don't know if he's as strongly autistic coded as other characters, though. But I do see what you mean there. User 225, shout out to Shofu CTC and the Pokemon Cypher Gang. Yeah, especially Cypher Gang. A dim channel. Raymond Stans, given what we know of Dan Aykroyd. Well, Dan Aykroyd's actually autistic, so that I feel like he's kind of bringing his own life experience.
Hashtag actually autistic, everyone.
Yeah,
he's the chat.
Yeah, no, I love Dan Aykroyd in Ghostbusters. He's fantastic. Adrian Parchman, Rise TMNT Donnie, Reboot Ducktail Huey, Tales from Sonic, Dipper Pines from Gravity Falls, Tell More Below. All those are great suggestions. We will probably get to all of them at some point. I'm seeing a lot of suggestions here. I'm seeing some people say Naruto Uzumaki and Kamala Khan. Futaba Sakura from Persona 5 I've seen a lot of too.
I think a lot of people, and I don't want to like start anything so early, but like I think a lot of people just really want their favorites to be autism coded, and they probably are for like a large portion. Like I'm not going to tell you who is and who isn't when like none of this stuff is confirmed, but I do notice, at least in a lot of the suggestions that I was hearing you say from the super chats, is that you do see personality stereotypes kind of in common with all of them. and I do at least a little bit want to push back on some of it, because I don't think being a nerd equals being autistic, as cool as that would be, I guess.
I mean, Fred Jones is definitely not a nerd. He just is obsessed with traps.
Oh, I was
That's his
talking,
hyperfixation.
I was talking more like no, I was talking more like Tails from Sonic. My favorite character from Sonic, I think he's just an actual child, because he is a child in the case.
Yeah, I think my favorite is Knuckles.
It was good with technology.
Exactly. I agree there. We'll get to that, I think, as we get to it. And I think we're going to start the round robin with you two next. But first off, where are we putting this Dorito over here? I think
top left. I think she's great. I think she is for herself, and she's realistic enough to make me cry, so that's good enough for me.
That's fair. Krim, what do you think?
The thing is that I almost like. I'm not sure the dichotomy. I don't know if there is an actual dichotomy. I think we're falling into the autistic trap of black and white thinking, because I don't know if there is a dichotomy between realistic and stereotype, really. Because you could be a perfect stereotype and be completely realistic.
You know what? Let me change these categories slightly. Let me change this a little bit. Visible, less obvious.
Is that one's also kind of?
That might be also.
Yeah. Okay. So okay. Let's go with like. I don't know if visible is even.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like, none of these characters are like, besides the first one that we've done, like, most of these characters aren't canon autistic. We're making a lot of assumptions here.
Yeah.
Based entirely on personality. And like I said before, like, a lot of things that are, part of autism diagnoses are also part of a lot of other kinds of neurodivergencies.
Mm-hmm.
So, which is kind of why I like the term neurodivergent as a catch-all more than autism, because I feel like that's a lot more accurate to people's experience.
That's true. So, what do you? Maybe let's say, let's change visible and less obvious to positive and negative. Maybe.
Yeah, I think that might be a.
I think that's good. I like that more.
Yeah, so that way it's a little more fair. So I think
that sounds right.
So I think with Peridot, then by this case, it's definitely more top left. I think if we're doing that.
I think so. She's a very positive, great. I love her. She has never done anything wrong. Don't let anyone.
Except for the time she blew up the planet. That almost destroyed the planet.
Okay,
Earth.
look.
If you're autistic, you're a little.
You're allowed to destroy the planet Earth a little bit. As a treat. As a treat. Yeah, sure.
Okay, I think she deserves it. Honestly, I mean, look at her. She's so excited.
This is valid. All right, couple super chats real quick. Then we'll do Krim first, then Madeline. That sound fair?
Yeah, I already got one of my top tier ones, so I'll go for. I can take a long break.
That's valid. Okay, Skull Lord. I'm just reading super chats real quick. Skull Lord Shigeo Kageyama from Mob Psycho 100. Okay, Shigeo, not Shigeo. Dumb. Pronunciation is not my strong suit. Forgive me, I'm autistic. Angels in Gaming. As I'm working on my Giro cosplay, because I'm JoJo's Bizarre Adventure hyperfixed. Do you think there's any JoJo's Bizarre Adventure characters that could be autistic or coded? Speedwagon. I will not elaborate further. Kate Cast reviews, Sherlock Holmes, all of them. They all are. And we're going to get to Sherlock Holmes too. That's one I want to talk about later. But yeah, Krim, who do you think?
I'm going to come out the back. I'm going to kind of come out the gate with a really contentious one. So your audience might throw a bunch of hammers at me. Okay. But I saw a video this weekend that made me feel more strongly about this than I ever have before.
Mm-hmm. So who's the character?
So everybody be nice to me. Sean Murphy from The Good Doctor. I want to talk about this character. Okay. I really want to talk about this character because I watched this video this weekend, and I'm going to plug the video just because I think it was so good. So go watch it after the stream, please. I beg of you. It is. Ooh, hold on, let me find my notes. Where'd they go? There they are. It was called. The video is called "Stop Lying About the Good Doctor" by Ember Green. In subtitle, "The Reality Is Bad Enough." And the thing is that let's talk about the scene that's constantly memed on for a second.
Yes, let's definitely talk about that.
So that scene, and let's like step away from the meme for a second. It's actually accumulation of months and months and months of stress and pressure and trauma. His mentor is dying. He's sensing a loss of identity. He got a new boss that literally is like, yeah, you're not allowed to be a surgeon because you're autistic and I can't trust you. So we're going to make you a diagnostician instead. And so he's like, okay, I'm just going to be really good at my job and prove myself, right? Mm-hmm. For months, he puts himself through this. He's getting abandoned by people left and right. And the scene in which people are constantly memeing on is him quitting. It's him saying, if I can't be a surgeon, I'm not going to work for you. That's how it's framed in the scene. He storms out and leaves the hospital afterwards. And the thing is that allistic people are allowed to angrily quit when they've been wronged by their bosses, and they're applauded for doing so and treated like heroes. But with this meme, according to the internet, autistic people aren't allowed to do that. And like, I think like I've had meltdowns at work in front of my bosses, and it's absolutely humiliating. So like that scene really, it was really personal for me, and to see people memeing on it in the way that they do, it's heartbreaking, because I didn't think it was funny when I watched it. I thought it was like painfully, shamefully relatable. Like I saw myself in that moment. And I think that there's definitely some stereotypes with this character in terms of like savant syndrome, and like, oh, well, we got to hire him because he's got savant syndrome. Also, the actor, like, Freddie is not an autistic guy. Like, he had to, like, put on a bunch of autistic traits that he didn't really, like, the weird stuff that he does with his eye. Like, you know what he's trying to do, but, like, he doesn't quite got it because he's not autistic. He doesn't really know what's going on. And, like, he tried his best, but, like, they should have just gotten an autistic actor to play as Sean. I think would have made this show so much better. To be honest, and there's like a bunch of issues with it, but like to say that that's not how autistic people are. A lot of the autistic people I've spoken to have found the character pretty freaking relatable, and it seems to be. I mean, I'm not saying all, but it seems like the biggest outcry comes from like relatives of people with autism rather than autistic people themselves.
I think it's tricky because on one hand, on paper, a lot of what this character does is done well. There is he deals with discrimination for his condition. He does have that that scene describing on paper does work based on the context. But I think a lot of it has to do with the performance. That really is what I think takes away, in my opinion anyway. And this is just my perspective. Again, I'm not saying that anyone else's experience is invalid. I'm saying that if it was done by a actor who better incorporated the traits into his delivery and felt more authentic as a performance, not as a character, but as a performance, I think that'd be a much stronger option. But I feel like Freddie Highmore's performance just doesn't work. He can play like because I mean, aside from this, one of his most famous roles was as Norman Bates. So like, I feel like there's a degree where.
Pretty interesting.
Oh yeah, because he played Norman Bates in the what was the show, Bates Motel.
Yeah, no, I didn't see it, but now I'm remembering. Yes.
Yeah. So like he's one of those character actors who can play certain roles really well, but like he plays like the outsider, which you know, to an extent.
Yeah. I think that like ultimately, in my opinion, I think that it's could be better, but it's definitely not as bad as people act like it is. And again, with the whole like, oh well, like are these really autistic traits? And it's like, according to a lot of people that have reviewed it that have autism, they're like, yeah, I see myself in this character, and like I really like this character, and I really like this show. So like, you know, like,
yeah, and I think also oh, I'm sorry, cut you off. I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay. I think that's why I wasn't a big fan about like the stereotype versus the realistic, because I think this character is quite the stereotype. Yeah. But I don't think he's like way in the bottom negative stereotype, right? Like I think that he kind of strides the middle, because he is. Yeah, I think that he's sitting right in that neutral territory. Could be a lot better, but like I think he made a lot of people feel seen. As because a lot of autistic characters you see are like children. Yeah, you don't see a lot of autistic adults, and he's like a professional doctor. Like he's a surgeon. Like he's got a medical degree. He has a job, and you see him go through that sort of milestones of adult life, and you don't really see that with autistic characters most of the time, so I think it's notable.
I agree, and I think it's also important to note that he's an adult, he's professional, he still gets his job done correctly, like he's shown as competent, and, you know, one thing, too, that's worth discussing, the meme is one scene, you know? You don't really, if you...
With him at his worst.
Yeah, well, it's at his worst, but also, if we judged all shows based on the corniest acting of the show's entire run, like a lot of shows are going to sound terrible when you do it like that. We're given like, it's just easy to meme on, but like at the same time, it's like, well, yeah, you're taking one performance and even then one take of the performance that the editor happened to choose, and you're judging the whole show with like multiple seasons based on that. Now, I personally don't enjoy The Good Doctor at all. I don't think it's a show I personally really like all that much. But I'm also not going to deny that people do find the performance on some level validating. I find it, I'm a little more negative about it from my perspective. But, you know, I also get there's a lot of things there that are realistic. And again, some of my hang-ups are about I think the concept of the show to an extent, where it's like, isn't it amazing how this person with this difficulty can have a professional career? I do think it kind of feeds into some negative stereotypes that I find a little frustrating, but also that has less to do with the episode by episode plot and more of a conceptual element. So am I letting that bias kind of blind me to the benefit, to the merits of the show? I'm not entirely sure.
How much of the show did you watch?
Only a bit of the first season, so I didn't get too far in. So that's a factor.
I watched a good deal of it, and like, I haven't watched all of it, but I have watched a good deal of it. I would say more than half. And I would say that like the fact that it goes over his childhood trauma. And like how like that his autism isn't the only factor. He was deeply traumatized as a child. It goes over how he handles interpersonal relationships. He has a kid by the end of the series. Like and we don't often see autistic characters have that full experience. So like, and I feel like at the conception of it, I feel like there was some problems, but to me, as the show went on, it felt like the creators took notes and improved as they went along. It's like, we've really got to make this character deep and go through. It's not just autism, but like it's like, oh, my autism makes it hard to work, but it's also like I don't know, like there was times where he was taken advantage of by like people that were supposed to be his friends that I also found very relatable. Like that whole like, oh well, like I'm just going to keep on being nice to you, and then I don't realize until way too late that you haven't been my friend the whole time, and you've just been kind of, I don't know.
That's relatable. Yeah, that to me is
there's like a lot of
stuff. Yeah.
There's a lot of little moments like but there's a lot of little moments like that it makes it seem like he is the main character and not just a spectacle. And I think that improved as the show went on. So I do appreciate, but again, there are problems with it. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of problems with it, but I feel like I have to defend it a little bit because I think it gets a bad rap. And people don't like the character because he's autistic in an unpleasant way to a lot of people, and I think that's.
I think this is a great example of why this chart is so useful, because it is kind of more towards the center of it. I feel like.
Yeah, exactly. I think that this character is a great example of middle ground.
Yeah.
But I do think that he's more for the self because he is the main character and we see the world through his eyes, and it's not about the other people. He's the one learning the lessons. So.
Yeah. I agree. I think we should put him right here. Madeline, any objection to this part of the chart?
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay.
I appreciate everything you said, Krim, because I've never seen the show. I am only familiar with the show from the memes and all of that, and the unfortunate trans episode of the show.
Yeah, I was thinking of a way to bring that one up too. That was a little. But I mean,
yeah, that was which I saw the videos about that. I felt extremely uncomfortable watching it.
But in fairness, though, Madeline, autistic people can be transphobic. That is a fact.
I was going to say that. I was going to say that, Joe.
Yeah.
Okay, yes. Yes. Yeah, just because you're transphobic doesn't mean you're not autistic. I believe that.
Yeah, no. Those are not mutually exclusive ideas.
I'm so glad you brought it up.
Let me finish real quick, just my whole thing. I didn't watch The Good Doctor. I have no intention of watching The Good Doctor because it has one of my least favorite autism tropes, which is that the autistic person has superpowers trope, where just by like the fact of like being on the spectrum, you're just amazing at a specific thing. It's this Rain Man effect. And I hate that. I hate that representation. I think it's really gross and it's really messed up to suggest like, oh, what's your superpower, autistic person? Like, no, it's really gross. I don't like that at all. And for what it's worth, yeah, I do think that the I am a surgeon scene is basically menstrual to me. It's so offensive. But I don't know. We need to stop having non-autistic actors play autistic people and autistic characters.
Absolutely.
Agreed.
I think it's pretty bad. I've never seen the show though, and I will never see the show. So I'm not.
Yes.
I
just think
really.
I hate the whole concept from the ground up. I
don't think it's one of those things where they have a superpower because they're autistic. I think they just see things slightly from a different lens.
I don't know what the audience is getting though. The audience is no. This is really important because when these shows come out, because The Good Doctor's not the only one. There's been other shows where there's a character that's either autistic, like straight up said to be autistic, or is coded, and the dialogue around it is always like, oh, look at this autistic person is really good at this. You know, the idea is absolutely. I think somebody in the chat said it, the autistic savant stereotype,
me,
and
actually.
I think that's
that was Krim said that.
Krim said that.
Yeah. Krim said that.
And it's I agree with Krim with you on that. I really just think that's gross. I really just want to see just normie autistic representation. I think it's really gross because it says like you have to have like some kind of amazing ability in order to be allowed to live in society. I think that's really gross.
Well, I think that we're going to get to examples later that really fall into that stereotype, and I agree it is gross. I don't know if this is an example of that, though, is what I'm very limited with the show, too. I haven't seen a ton of it. But
it's literally said in the first episode that he has savant syndrome, which isn't, like, really a thing.
Yeah, it's not a real thing.
So
that is very true. I think, like...
It's really... And it just reminds me of, like, my childhood... You know, because there were like again, like I've said, I've been around and worked with people with autism my entire life, and I remember I would see like the quote unquote autistic savant, which is not real, where you have this kid who's autistic and also blind, and he can play the piano perfectly. Like those people do exist. It's just I hate how so much focus is put on them versus just like people that. You know, aren't. They don't have that. And it's just like, they're also cool and important. I I hate this idea that you have to have like a special talent in order to be like accepted as a human being.
Okay.
Which is honestly, even like non-autistic people get that too, but it's especially true for
Can,
people with
yeah.
autism.
yeah.
So
Can we
Yeah.
like? I also want to like take a. Yeah, absolutely agree.
Mhm.
I will say that like there's a lot of shows where the thing that this person is really good at X, that's what makes the show interesting. And while on one hand I hate that that's like the only way autistic people are made to feel valid in a lot of these shows, on the other hand, like nobody's complaining that uh about characters like superhero characters like Bruce Wayne or Dick Grayson, who are the best at this, and that's what makes them an interesting character, and that's why we have a comic about them.
yeah.
Like at the end of the day, like this is like a piece of art, and there has to be that hook.
Mhm.
And like on one hand, and on one hand, I resent the savant syndrome thing, especially like when you look at something like Rain Man.
Which will come up later.
But like we have so many medical shows where like like crime procedural shows where like the main character is super good at their job, and that's what makes the show interesting.
Yeah.
And I think it's
I'm thinking Will Graham.
I have
I'm
mixed
thinking Will Graham
feelings.
from Red Dragon and
Yeah, exactly.
Who's not autistic, I wouldn't say. I don't think he's.
Yeah, there's a lot of characters like that, and while on one hand, I wish that there was more autistic people where they didn't have to be good at something to be worth it. I think that, like, speaks more to how. At the end of the day, the whole point of the Good Doctor is he's really good at medicine.
Mm-hmm.
But the twist is that he also has autism. Whereas, like, I think that there's, like, it's again, it's, you know it when you see it.
Yeah.
I sort of a situation, to use what Madeline said, but, like, then there's some that are like, oh, they're autistic, but the twist is that they're also really smart.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, The Good Doctor is about, like, it's a medical drama, and pretty much every medical drama, like, the main character is extremely good at their job in terms of, like, medical procedurals.
Yeah.
I say it's somebody who watches a lot of those.
Yeah. I think we're going to move on past The Good Doctor just because we can get hung up on this for a while, and this conversation applies to a lot of different characters.
Can I say one last thing before we wrap this up?
Okay, one real quick thing.
I would say, Corinne, that the difference between Good Doctor and, like you said, Batman and Superman in characters like that is like you said, there are very few representations of people with autism, while there are a million trillion representations of cis straight white guys. So they're allowed to kind of be everything and everything. But unfortunately, we just don't have a lot of that. And I do think that when a marginalized person is put on screen, it does mean more how they're presented and represented than if it's someone who's not marginalized. And I just think this is a trope that it's like seeing, you know, a trans person who's a sex worker in a show. Like, I guess it's great that we're there and we're taking matters into our own hands, but it's like, I would rather not only see that representation. And for me, I just, this idea of, like, again, somebody that's neurodivergent has, like, this amazing, incredible power to do something that, like, nobody else can do. Like, God gave him this incredible power.
Okay.
I just think it's gross. I just don't like it.
All right, I'm going to cut this conversation off now just because we've been talking about The Good Doctor for the last 20 minutes.
I know.
So I want to move on to other characters.
I don't want to talk. I've never seen the show, so maybe it is.
All right.
It's better than I think. So.
Couple super chats I want to read out before we move on to, I think, Madeline, it's your choice next, but I do have one that could throw in the ring to continue this conversation, but in a very different direction. Comet Z, I have a theory that a lot of the nerd stereotypes came from the neurodivergent people. Also, add Krona from Soul Eater, please. We're going to get to the chat choice shortly. Krona is another example, too, that's really good. I'm not going to lie. Demand 7599. Please mention Izuku Midoriya. I will write an essay to convince all of you, and yes, it is a threat. Don't worry, Midoriya is on my list, too, if it wants to discuss. Mango Steen. Many people headcanon Asa Mitaka from Chainsaw Man as autistic. I like this headcanon. That makes sense, actually. Yeah. Christian Wolf from The Accountant. Thank you, Azarius Daniels. Yeah, so that's actually a canonically autistic character. as played by Ben Affleck in The Accountant. Yeah, that's a good. And again, that's an example of a character who is autistic, who also happens to be a trained assassin. Um, I don't think assassinations is his hyperfixation. I think it's accounting is his hyperfixation. But he also just happens to be a really good assassin. So there you go. Don't mess with people who are good at math, I guess. User225, thank you again for the super chat. If I had an autism spectrum disorder character in my story and I wanted to pick them in a romantic or even sexual context, is that all right? What should I keep in mind? Yeah, it's very all right. Depict them like just normal people. You know, people have relationships.
The best you can do if you're not sure, if you're not part of the community, is just to ask people in the community.
Just ask someone.
Yeah, it's like I wouldn't write a character who's black in a story and not consult like the black community.
Yeah.
Like that would just be weird. Why would they not do that?
Sensitivity reviews exist for a reason to tell you, hey, this is good. Hey, I think this might be stereotypical. You know, that kind of thing.
We want to answer because we like when we're represented. That's why we wanted it to be good.
Yeah. Madeline, do you have a character you want to add, or should I add?
I mean, you can do. I mean, I feel like we already know which one I'm going to say, but you can just do yours first.
Okay. And
then I'll do mine.
You're going to hate me for this. I had to at some point.
Well, I think this is where it comes from. I think everything we're talking about, The Good Doctor, comes from this. This is what people thought for decades what being autistic meant, and it's extremely gross.
Now, I want to point out a couple things before we talk about Rain Man. For one, for the time it came out, this was positive. This was more positive at the time of its release. So that's worth considering. This is about 40 years old, this movie. So that's one factor worth considering when discussing it. Mm-hmm. For another, Dustin Hoffman is the guy. He is the guy in the movie. Like Tom Cruise is the main character, but Dustin Hoffman's the one everyone with Raymond,
I'm
right?
just thinking, I mean, I feel like Tropic Thunder closed the book on this, honestly. Like
that whole discussion. Right there.
Like that's exactly the problem with Rain Man.
Also, he exists purely as an avenue for Tom Cruise's development. He doesn't really have much of an arc in the film, and a lot of the jokes, he's the butt end of a lot of jokes.
Now here's a maybe a more interesting question. Is this better or worse than I Am Sam?
This is better. This is better than I Am Sam. This is better.
You would say this is better.
I Am Sam is just, first off, I Am Sam was made 20 years later. So that's like one fact, or 15 years later. That's one factor right there. So I mean, when this movie came out, it was unique. There wasn't a whole lot like it. I Am Sam came out after over a decade of discourse surrounding Rain Man. So it's like, if you're the first one to do something and you're breaking ground, but you're touching on a lot of stereotypes, that's one thing. I can accept that historically, that, hey, for the time, this was progressive, but like, we recognize a lot of the elements now as stereotypical. And again, to what you described before, relying on the autism superpower to count cards in Vegas. I will say this, I think counting cards in Vegas is a little better than like some of the autistic superpowers you see in some of these shows, but like, okay.
Right. And I also know that Rain Man is based on a true story that's also fake.
Yeah.
Maybe people in the chat can tell me, because I know that's not actually what happened in real life, this situation between Hoffman and Cruise. But
yeah. Also, I Am Sam makes the cardinal mistake of being uncomfortably schmaltzy.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Rain Man is cynical. Yeah. Rain Man is a cynical movie. If you watch it again, like it is not a movie where anyone comes off as like a fully good person.
That is true. I mean, by comparison, I Am Sam feels like exploitation.
Yeah, I Am Sam sucks.
I agree with that.
I do think this leans more towards negative personally, but I do also admit that, again, and the development is entirely for Tom Cruise's character. Like, he does not exist as his own character. But I will also say that for its time, I'm cutting it a little bit of slack, because I think for its time it did do things that weren't being done. But I do think that the movie has aged very
I
poorly.
think that's fair. I'm not going to fight you on that.
Yeah.
That's fine.
I think. Krim, any thoughts on this one?
I'm gonna be honest. I avoid Rain Man like the plague.
Valid.
Yeah.
So
Valid. It's one of those movies where, like, I feel like their mind was in the right place, but like they just made a lot of. And my bigger issue with Rain Man is it laid the groundwork for worse movies. Like,
yeah,
I mean, just the decades of people doing the impression. Oh my god.
it's so frustrating.
You know, like, Christ.
And again, I Am Sam, I think I'm not going to bother putting on here because I think we all would immediately know where it goes. But like,
We don't need to see that.
yeah, let me just,
I don't
let me
need.
just put I Am
am
Sam
having a
on
good
here
day.
just so we
I'm having a
can.
great day. We don't need that.
Yeah, let me just put I Am Sam on the list so in case anyone in the comments asks, "Where's I Am Sam?" I'm going to show you where I Am Sam is. I Am Sam goes.
You should push it like outside of the graph. Like it goes.
I'm not
past.
familiar with it.
I Am Sam. Basically, Sean Penn plays an autistic father, I believe it is, who's fighting for custody over his daughter. And
It's misery porn.
Yeah,
basically.
it's every autistic stereotype you can think of. Like it's.
I think
it's
I would
next
push
to-
it further. Take it completely off the screen. Yeah,
I think I'm gonna let me make an adjustment. I'm gonna make
Yeah, we have
music
to make
further.
it longer for.
Hang on, let me make C. Push C a little further.
Somebody said that there was a Rain Man cameo in The Simpsons. There was also a Rain Man cameo in one of the Aladdin movies.
That is also true.
I mean,
Which
I
is
think
wild.
Animaniacs and Tiny Toons also parried it. Like it's gross. Like that. It just became people doing the impression, and we all know what the impression is.
It was the '90s version of the Good Doctor scene, I think.
Yeah. Okay, so a couple of comments real quick. Paige Lego, thank you again for Super Chat. Knock knock, is this the room for the Autism 101? I brought my encyclopedic knowledge of early 2000s cartoons and a 3-ring Bible. That is perfect, I love it. User225, I cannot wait for you all to get to Sheldon Cooper. We will get to him shortly. I'm going to leave it up to chat now to decide the next one. So, a few I saw suggested I think are interesting. So, chat, for the next minute... sorry.
Wait.
Did Madeline didn't get a chance?
I'll do it because I know it's going to be...
Go for
chat's going to go for it really quick, so I might as well just get it out of the way.
Go for it.
My favorite character of all time, my ideal, my queen, my goddess, it's, of course, Entrapta from She-Ra.
Yes.
Perfect. I love her. And I don't have anything else to say. She is perfect. She has literally done nothing wrong. I think her and Peridot would be best friends. The entire universe would explode, but again, that's okay. We accept that because they deserve that.
Yeah, I find it funny how we have animated characters at the top of the positive section, but like real life is like at the bottom of the opposite end. But I do agree. Krim, any objection to this?
Well, you see, She-Ra, Princess of Power is a girl show, so I didn't fucking watch it.
Oh, fine.
I didn't watch.
You know what? I'm sorry. That was really offensive of you to ask.
Really sexist
if he had seen the show, do better.
Honestly, I can't. No, I think I did see one season. I gave it a good honest try, but it's just a little too girly for me.
Valid.
In a way that like didn't really like tickle my brain the right way. I could see that. I think it's a good show. It just didn't appeal to me as a stinky boy. Sorry.
There you go. What's interesting about like I'll tell a story. I came out as trans during the pandemic when lockdown happened, and the first show I binged watched was She-Ra and the Princesses of Power. I watched the entire show, and then the new season came out, and immediately, Entrapta became my favorite character. First off, I love women with obscenely long hair in any cartoon, in anything. And her powers are literally hair powers, so already this is one of my favorite characters. To top it all off, the fact that like I just related to her so much. Like, there were like years where I would just say Peridot and Entrapta are like the most relatable characters, and people are like, "Why? Do you have autism or something?" And I'm like, no, I don't think so. Not everyone was nice to me, is what I'm trying to
There you
say.
go.
But and like, yeah, um, so She-Ra as a show itself is really important to me because again, it was the first thing I watched when I was my true self, and Entrapta became like a very early. This is okay. I don't quite understand this whole being a girl thing, but I've got something to at least strive for, even if it is extremely chaotic. I don't know. I love her. That's it. I have nothing else to say. Entrapta, for everything. Make her goddess. That's fine. I'm okay with that.
Okay, that's valid. I'm gonna add a few options here for chat to decide. So chat, these are a couple ones I noticed from super chats and on comments repeatedly. Chat, for the next few minutes, next minute, who do you think we should talk about? Your options are Fred Jones from Mystery Inc., Izuku Midoriya, Futaba, and Sheldon Cooper. This is based on purely on comments and poll results and super chat answers. So
Is Futaba is the
Persona 5.
Okay.
Yeah, Futaba's from Persona 5. She's the glasses with orange reddish hair.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So it looks like Fred Jones and Sheldon are like in the lead. I'm actually surprised by this. We have almost 280 people watching. If everyone watching right now votes and leaves a like on this video, it would be really helpful to the video. We will get to Sheldon eventually, no matter what. Whether it's this round or the next, we're gonna get to Sheldon. I have thoughts on that. But it looks like Fred is getting a lot of love, with almost 90 votes in.
Wow.
People really like Fred. Wow. Okay. Guess we're gonna talk about Fred then. Oh yeah, it looks like that's. All right, I'm gonna call it now. That's a wrap.
We're gonna talk about Sheldon also. You can't not talk about Sheldon. Somebody wrote Entrapta is the goddess of autism, and that is correct.
This is very fair.
Yeah, right. I don't get a lot of chances to just like obsess on something and accept no criticism of. So this is my time.
By the way,
to be fucking autistic about a character. So that's valid. It. I'm just gonna be weird about Entrapta for forever.
Also, I moved I Am Sam a little bit on the chart because I realized that I Am Sam is not there for other characters. He's there for himself.
Oh,
but
yeah.
He's still extremely negative. I feel like we need to fill in more of the chart than just like a straight line from end to end. Okay, Fred Jones.
Imagine like 3 people on the spectrum, like having black and white thinking. Wow.
Crazy. Wild, I know. Okay, Fred Jones from Mystery Incorporated. Unlike if you haven't seen Mystery Incorporated, you just know Fred from like the original Scooby-Doo. This might seem weird. Fred
that would be me. That would be me.
Not.
I have not seen Mystery Incorporated.
So
I cannot contribute to this.
Okay. He absolutely comes across as autistic in the original, I think.
But he comes across as really autistic in this. Like he
comes off as a himbo.
No. Okay, Madeline. Okay, you understand. Because you haven't seen the show.
No, I'm talking about the original. I don't know about
sure, but like in this, he's like he's obsessed with traps. He collects like magazines of like trapping things weekly or whatever. Like he has like he spends all his time micro obsessing over traps and how to set traps. To the point where he doesn't pick up on any social cues whatsoever when Daphne is hitting on him like directly and repeatedly and pointedly. He's completely oblivious because he's thinking about traps too much. He is both a himbo and very autistic in this show. All the characters are interpreted very differently, including, what's his name doing Shaggy again? Matthew Lillard again, for like the 90th time, which I'm always down for. He's pretty interesting as Shaggy. But, no, so Fred Jones is just, I think most of his story, though, like he is positive, but I feel like most of his character exists kind of as like, in contrast to everyone else. I feel like he's more in the center of the for self or for others. And he is often the butt of jokes, but like in a way that his character's in on the joke, if that makes sense. So I feel like he's kind of more the first one of this segment, if I'm going to be honest. What do you think, Krim? I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think it's definitely more for others because we don't really see him, like, it's not really an internalized experience. It's definitely supposed to be a joke, but he's so lovable that, like, yeah, I would definitely, like, put him closer to the right, but he's definitely positive, I would say.
Yeah, like, he's not like as positive as, say, Peridot or Entrapta, but like he's definitely like a very fun character. Like he's a gag character, but he's also like not. Like it's just great. I like Fred a lot. I like Mystery Incorporated a lot. I've wanted to do a Scooby Doo video for a while, but like I always like think like, do I want to do the movies or do I want to do? Oh, you want to be in on that?
Please, I love Scooby Doo.
I will let you in on that little video when I do it for sure.
And he just as an aside, the Scooby Doo crossover episode is the best episode of Supernatural.
Yes,
hands down.
Yeah, agreed. That's the best episode of Supernatural. Easy. I love the bit where they have the existential nightmare over like the afterlife existing. I'm like, but you've seen ghosts. Like you know this already. I don't know. I'm babbling there. But yeah, I think this is the first one of this quadrant. So I'm glad we are filling up some space there. Couple quick super chats real quick I want to read out. Terminal Sanity, thank you for super chat. I liked reading Vigilante from Peacemaker as undiagnosed autistic, just because the awkward moments that stemmed from him being too honest, not reading social cues / sarcasm felt real in context. I'm assuming you mean Vigilante from the show Peacemaker and not like the DC comics, because I agree. In the show, very much so coded like that. At least with the social cues at the very least. Though he is a little murder happy, I feel. I mean, autistic people can be murderous.
If you're autistic, you should be able to kill people if you want to.
That's valid.
That's very. Yeah. I mean, that's what the accountant's about.
I do love the scene where he makes fun of all the white supremacists, though, and makes them like want to fight him, and he fights them back. It's great. Koei D Collector, thank you. Someone needs to pick Chris Chan in fiction. No, we don't. I don't think we need that.
Let's not do that. No.
Can I say that if you are still talking about Chris Chan in the year of our Lord 2025, there is actually something wrong with you. Ignoring
let's not insult chat too much, but
No, I'm okay. No, they can hate me for this. Honestly, I think what the internet has done to them is deplorable, and the fact that people are still obsessed with them even today is awful. Just stop, please. I am a zero tolerance on this. I don't care. I don't care what your arguments are. Just stop it.
This is a weird time to announce that my next video next week is a 15-part video on the history of Christology. I'm kidding.
You are late because there are 50-hour-long videos. I'm not even kidding.
Obsessive amounts of it. It's a little
one person that the internet just bullied for decades.
Yeah, like, it's intense.
Let's dial it in, guys. Let's not go there because we're all going to get mad.
This is one of my big things. Like please stop.
No, I hear you there. No, I was just making a joke, but it's all good. I agree. It's obsessive, very deeply so. Backseat Dinosaurs, thank you for super chat. Not always characters I relate to, but autistic coded characters help my parents accept and understand me. Sheldon, Bones, and Hilda specifically means the world that they could see me in others. That's actually means the world they could see me in others. That's a very good point too. And I think it's important to note that fiction is so often a great avenue to communicate ideas to people in ways that words directly stated just can't. It's easy to say, oh, it's like this experience in this show. I sympathize. Like you're able to live vicariously through others and get to understand them better, and that in turn affects your understanding of real life. And that's why topics like this, I think, are genuinely important to discuss, why media is important to discuss, because media influences how we view reality. I think it's very important. So I think it's a big point. And Nick Wolf, thank you for being a member for 3 months. I watched Scooby Natural every Halloween. Oh yeah, 100%. Love it. It's not Chris Story. It's Chris. It's Christory. I'm sorry.
Okay, let's move on. Let's move on.
Krim, your choice now.
No, you
your
do
choice
not.
now.
You do not want. I will
No.
scream
Yeah.
at
I was reading.
Yeah,
a
let's-
comment.
okay.
Krim, your turn.
So I think that we're probably I'm gonna be bold and say this might be the first live action character that's going to be as far into the positive so far.
Good.
And I'm gonna pick my favorite like autistic character of all time. From one of my comfort shows. I revisit it every couple of years. Temperance Brennan from Bones. And I will say that like I think that like I understand that like some people might argue that, oh, does she fall into the savant syndrome? Not really. She's very educated, but she works as a part of a team, and she is very, very good at her job. But I wouldn't say it's a superpower. She's just a very educated, intelligent woman who is based on a character that is based on a real person who wrote a story based on herself. Her personality was based on real autistic people from the writers, and from, again, it's one of those issues where like, yeah, like maybe was like a non-autistic person playing an autistic character, but it was also never confirmed in the show. I think it just kind of like ended up being like, oh yeah, this person, like they didn't know that the person they were basing this character on, it was a friend of the writers. She was diagnosed with autism later, right? So I think it just kind of happened to be like, hey, like a lot of autistic people are like, oh, she's just like me for real. And I don't think Kathy Reichs, which is the woman that was that Temperance Brennan came from, I don't think that it's ever been confirmed or denied if she has autism. But yeah, I don't know. She's one of my favorite autistic characters ever. And Temperance, the actor of Temperance Brennan, Emily Deschanel, has said that like, oh, if this was like a cable show and not like a major network show, probably would have gotten diagnosed. There have been like questions on later seasons if she has autism or Asperger's, and which that's a questionable diagnosis in this day and age. But
Asperger's is its
yeah,
own
but
thing.
that's like back in the day.
We don't use the term Asperger's anymore. That's
I'm just quoting what the people were saying at the time when that was less of a contentious diagnosis. But and again, it came out that the person that the writer based her on, oh, she has autism. I didn't know that. So I don't know. I don't think it was intentional, but I like that like once people started asking questions, that the writers in the show were pretty positive about that interpretation of the character.
Oh yeah, 100%. I agree with that entirely. I think that's a good point. I've only seen a little bit of Bones. I haven't seen a ton of it. I've only seen a few episodes, but I agree. I think that she's pretty positive.
It's my favorite. I think it's my favorite crime procedural, and I'm kind of a dork about crime procedurals.
You are such love it.
I just like that it's like it's not like a savant thing. It was a pursued interest. And she isn't the best of the best of the best. I mean, she is, but like it was because she's educated and she practiced. And there are other people on her team that are also like the best of the best. That's why they work in the field that they do. So I don't know. I just really like this character, and I really like this show.
Yeah.
And it makes I just really like it. I think it's such a good. I think it's just such a good example. And even if it was never said out loud on the show, word of God. So
I think it's fair to put her pretty high up here. Do you think that's fair?
What do you? I want to hear Madeline's.
I've never seen the show, so
okay.
Oh.
So
I have no idea.
So Krim, decide.
I definitely think that up by Entrapta.
Never been into police
Peridot.
procedurals. I do not. I think they're boring.
She's not a cop. To be fair, she is a forensic anthropologist that works for the Smithsonian. And there's a lot of contention between between the Smithsonian and the cops, and yeah.
So we can actually all day long. I will say I like
absolutely.
I like the funnier one of my friends showed me the goofier Law and Order SVU episodes, and those were very funny. I will agree that
Bones
that is,
can get very goofy sometimes, and that's part of the draw for me.
but generally, I was, I'm a cartoon person. If I'm gonna watch something stupid, it's gonna be a cartoon.
Well, okay. Before we goes off a bridge there,
I'm sorry. I just don't care about cop procedurals. I know they're like they're the most popular genre in America. Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't like SVU or like CSI or anything like that. I prefer things if they have like an interesting twist to them. And when I say procedurals, I'm including like medical procedurals. Like I like House. I know it's slop. I know it's slop.
Yeah, I did like House.
That's not the slop that I was gonna say. I was gonna say I like Dexter, and that's slop. I like Bones. I like the ones that they have an interesting twist to them. I don't want to see a bunch of cops doing cop things. I think what I like is that it touches my autism in a good way. I like procedurals because there's a routine to it, which is what turns people off of procedurals most of the time. But I really like that routine.
What's interesting is I have the exact opposite autism, where if something repeats too much, I lose my mind. Like, even a little bit, which is why, like, Scooby-Doo was hard for me to watch, because at least in the original show, it was the same thing every episode. And I'm like, I can't. Something different needs to happen or I'm going to explode.
So y'all don't like Law and Order SVU with the same 15 plots every single week?
No,
I do like the spooky cop shows like Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
That's valid.
Fringe, Fringe. Oh my god! But that switches. Well, I like it when I don't want exactly the same all the time.
That series on propaganda for a really interesting conversation.
Okay, before we move into pure propaganda, though,
sorry.
It's all good.
I was my last little bit on that was like, I do want it to change a little bit. I want there to be an overarching plot where things shift, but I do like that there's like something always to come back to ground me in that episode in it, to kind of be like, well, I know that it's gonna have ABC, but like it's going to move the arc of the show forward, and season to season it does change. So
makes sense.
It's a balancing act for me.
I was the weird kid that like wanted the coyote to catch the roadrunner. Like I was like, just do it. I feel so bad. Or like I wanted Team Rocket to get Pikachu. I'm like, they try so hard. I
think we're going off tangent here. Let me read a few super chats, then we'll go to the next character. Adrian Parchman, thank you for super chat. Usually characters who are good representation of autism are the unintentional ones, IMO. And that's a perspective, I think. I think sometimes that's true, sometimes it's not.
Well, I think at least that I think that talks to, like, again, making the character a character. Like, exactly. I think it's good character because first, they're trying to make a character, but when someone's sitting down and like, I'm going to write an autistic character, it becomes something else. And I think people with even good intentions will end up creating something that's not really universal.
I agree. D-Man, I just watched All Bones. She is amazing, and the whole team is amazing. I think Hodgkin is autistic.
Hodgins.
Oh, Hodgins? Okay.
I mean, like, the thing is there's, like, a lot of characters on the show that are really autistic coded. Like, Zach and Hodgins are big ones. And even, like, Angela, who is probably, like, the most grounded out of any, and, like, the most, like, quote-unquote normal out of any of the characters. I always kind of, like, she gives big ADHD vibes to me. Because they're all a bunch of, like, the whole thing is these are all a bunch of people who look at the world a little bit differently than other people, and it helps them do their job. But again, it's not to the point, I think, that it's like a superpower. It feels realistic. It's just that, hey, this guy really loves bugs and rot and has like a really good like knowledge of like how things decay, but it feels realistic, and it feels like it's a pursued interest rather than like just like inherently just gifted and like, yeah, I was born knowing all the different bugs.
Makes sense.
Which is what I think, like things like things like Good Doctor unfortunately fall into a little bit.
Okay, so on that note, and by that note I mean totally different. Alexander Ramirez. Some fans think Jotaro Kujo, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, might have autism, especially Part 4. Thoughts? I don't agree with that. I don't think I agree with that. I don't know if I buy that one.
I don't think there are any normal characters in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
Yeah, everyone's
so
bizarre.
That would be,
it comes to the name.
It's just a world of weirdos, and I love that for it.
They're all nuts. Like, they're all crazy. Yeah. It's great.
They're all on the spectrum. It's a show of everyone wild. On the spectrum.
They're all wild. I still think Speedwagon should be considered. I don't know. The guy 493. I guess I should be glad I got the model train autism and not whatever the hell happened to Musk. Well, Musk's problem is not autism. He's just
bad guy.
Trains. Elon Musk hates trains.
Somebody on YouTube that has autism said that like Elon Musk and a bunch of guys like him have bad guy autism, and it's a specific form of autism that certain bad assholes have.
Well, also he hates trains because he killed the train development systems in LA.
He hates public transportation. He hates it. He wants to destroy it. Yeah.
Anyway, the guy 493, think you remember for 9 months. Julian Bashir represent. Okay, there we go. Okay, cool. So, I think it's my turn to choose, I think, because you both chose Entrapta and Bones.
Yeah, it's your turn.
Okay, cool. And then chat's turn. I think you're going to hate me for this, though.
You've said that like for the last 3.
No, this one you're really going to hate me for.
Oh, my God.
I'm just going to drop him without saying a word. I want to see your reactions. By the way, this character is canonically autistic. It's not implied. The show has confirmed this character is autistic.
Yeah, that was that confirmation of like this is the bad
before posting him on here.
This is the bad autism representation.
When you said bad guy autism, I thought immediately of Rick Sanchez.
Yeah, this is bad guy. No, see, I'm just a girl. My IQ isn't high enough to respect his autism.
Listen, Madeline,
I can't understand.
This is a show that requires a high IQ to follow.
I know.
I understand the jokes go.
Dumb. I keep thinking about like dresses and skirts, and I get distracted.
The way it was confirmed with like, hey, is this game popular with autistic people? Because I really like this. Well, it's fucking Minecraft.
Yeah,
that was the best way to confirm the autism.
Well, Krim, you've never played Minecraft before. I don't think you've ever enjoyed Minecraft ever, right? Like, you don't have like a 15 streaming series on it at all.
I play Minecraft several times a week, and I have done that since I bought the game in 2012.
Yep, that makes sense.
If they kept track of hours, I think we would all be shocked.
Well, would we be shocked, or would you be shocked? That's the real question.
I think everybody would be shocked. Like, I could have achieved so much with the time that I put into that.
You could have made the Minecraft movie.
Yeah, well,
I don't like games without direction, so I never played Minecraft. I'm the Lego movie guy. I need instructions. I need someone to tell me what to do.
Valid.
Or I get scared.
So here's the thing about Rick Sanchez. He is definitely a negative character. Like, he's a very like tragic figure, and sardonic, and like just a terrible person overall. But is that necessarily a negative portrayal of autism, though? Like, he is no, he's not.
He's
at
evil.
All. He's a terrible
person. Guy,
but like,
I think he's in the middle between positive and negative.
Yeah, I think that's fair, because like he is definitely in some ways a stereotype, but also not. Like, he's so like he's a terrible character, but his portrayal of autism, he's not negative or positive. He just kind of is his own little mess of problems. I think what's more interesting is whether or not his autism serves himself as a character, or if that element facilitates plots happening around him.
Anthony?
Yep.
I think we just found our perfect neutral.
Yeah, Rick Sanchez is actually the perfect neutral. It's because, like, on one hand, he is neither positive nor negative. His character facilitates plots for others and himself. It's like he just kind of exists. He is
Our
the
platonic-
center point.
our true platonic
He is the center
neutral.
of his own world, and he makes everyone else understand that he is the center of the universe. So
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
he's
that's
got
appropriate.
sociopathy along with everything else. So
People
yeah.
are saying
Yeah.
we need a negative villain, so I'm just gonna throw this one out there. Just because I feel like we don't need much discussion of it, and maybe I'm the only person here. Well, Krim, you'll know who this character is. I'm not sure if you, Madeline, know who this character is. But I do, and that's important. If you want an evil villain autistic character, here's your example. Here you go. Here's your evil villain who's autistic. The Maker from Marvel.
Good.
Yeah, I don't know who that is.
It's evil Reed Richards
All right.
from the Fantastic Four. Except he has a man-dark brain. You see the
I
cone
thought that was
behind
Doctor Doom was evil, Mr. Fantastic.
No, Doctor Doom is just Doctor Doom. This is
Okay.
literally evil Reed Richards. He is definitely a selfish monster. I don't know if he's a good depiction of autism or not, but he's definitely negative in all senses of the word. There you go. There's your evil villain there. Okay, cool. So, chat, it's your turn now. Chat, I'm going to send you...
Oh, wait, isn't it Madeline's turn?
No, Madeline did Entrapta. Then you did Bones. I did Rick Sanchez.
No, do chat. That'll give me time to think of one.
Sounds good. I'm just going to throw a few more that we used from chat before. So, Izuku, Midoriya, get names out here. Futaba again.
I don't see Zuko as autistic.
I don't see him as autistic either. I don't see that at all.
So,
Is
yeah,
in
I
chat?
think he's just isolated as a child.
Sheldon Cooper.
I feel like
and
I feel like a lot of people when they're like this character is autism coded, it's a lot like this character is queer coded. It's just kind of like what you want. You want it to happen. So
And, okay, here we go. Here's a few examples here. So, we got. Oh God! Krim, you just changed your icon. I just noticed. We got Futaba, Midoriya, Sheldon Cooper, and Sherlock Holmes. Which Sherlock Holmes? All of them. At once. It'll become a Sherlock Holmes tier list. Is everyone, by the way, still connected audio wise? Because everyone went really quiet.
Yeah.
Oh,
hello,
cool.
hello.
Awesome. I wasn't
Hi,
sure if
I
I
Just
had
waiting
your
for
point.
the vote.
Sorry. If everyone voting can also like the video, we can get this boosted even further. So everyone can be forced to listen to our discussions on autism. Oh, Archer! I forgot about Archer. That's a good example. Looks like Sheldon's winning this one by a large margin.
Boy.
Okay, guess it's Sheldon's time. I'm gonna stop the poll now because there's no point continuing it. Sheldon's gonna win. So, Sheldon Cooper. Let's let's get this. Okay, this image I think is the most infuriating one, so I'm gonna select it. I don't know. Something about this image just annoys me so much. So,
Bazinga.
truth be told, for everyone to know this right now, I do not like Big Bang Theory. I kind of hate Big Bang Theory. Actually, it's one of my
Yeah.
least favorite sitcoms ever. People love this show. I can't stand it. Can't stand young Sheldon. Don't like any of it. I remember when Young Sheldon was ending, people were like, "Oh my God, Young Sheldon! I grew up with it. It was like my childhood." I'm like, can't stand it. Sorry, everything about it I hate. And this image, it fills me with rage, the likes of which no one should really have to deal with. I think that Sheldon is, especially early on, created as the butt end of jokes. I think Big Bang Theory exists for people who are not, who are neurotypical, to laugh at people who have autism with,
And genuinely
Yeah, I-
are nerdy. Yeah.
Yeah. Or people who
The
just
whole thing is the point of view character is Penny.
Mhm.
And we're laughing at how stupid and weird all these nerds are and gross.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But then the show has a weird thing where it makes fun of mainstream society at the same time. So it has like this weird, confused bitterness to it, where you're not always sure if you're supposed to laugh at society for
Okay.
ostracizing them, or
I
laugh
think
at them
right.
for being weird.
I have
I
a
think
theory.
what's interesting is I feel like it's probably a false dichotomy, because I think the critiques they do of society are much less like stringent and like intense as the just awful buffoonery they depict anyone who's even a little bit nerdy as. I feel like it's one of those things like, oh look, we're doing both sides, but if you really like did the numbers, you'd probably be like, oh okay, no, they're really just making fun of nerds. Yeah, that would be my thought.
Yeah.
I think that what it is that it's this weird kind of nerd superiority that you. Do you guys remember the whole dorks versus nerds versus geeks thing?
Yeah,
I think it's very much.
What a strange
I think
time
it's
to be alive. Yeah,
It was so
I remember
strange.
I
that.
think it's. I think
Should
it's
we
very
explain it for
much
people who
just
don't know
like
that?
I might be. Can I finish my point
I'm sorry.
first?
I'm sorry. I cut you off there. I'm so sorry.
I think that it's more that like, hey, you might be a nerd, but at least you're not as bad as these guys. But you are a better person for being smart. You know what I mean? Nerds are better, but at least you're not as bad as these ones.
Yes,
Agree,
absolutely.
Yeah. That's what it comes down to. The whole show. It's like a weird kind of like, look how goofy these guys. Look how stupid these guys are. But hey, could be worse, you know. And I feel like it punches down a lot. Is the problem? Like,
Yeah,
it really punches down a lot. And also they're strangely misogynistic. Like the show's really misogynistic.
Oh,
when you look back to
it's
it.
really disgusting. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, like there's a lot of
and like homophobic and
Oh,
trans.
yeah.
It's all. I mean, like
It's
it's
all
a
a
sitcom
thing,
from
yeah.
the 2000s, so.
Yeah, it's not. I'm not a fan of this show. I heard Young Sheldon's better, but I'm not going to watch to find out. But as a depiction of
I think
autism,
that like the
Well,
reason
it's
that
negative. I think- yeah.
Sheldon is such a hot button topic because everybody that has autism has been compared to Sheldon.
yeah, at some point, even like the mannerisms, and it's just it's infuriating. Like, say what you will about
Well,
The Good
and it's-
Doctor,
and
which we
it's-
did before. There's something particularly mean spirited about how Sheldon is.
Yeah,
Like
because
Definitely,
Sean.
like, yeah.
I'm sorry, Krim, I'm sorry, cut you off there.
No, I think I cut off Madeline as
Yeah.
well.
What?
So you go ahead first,
Sorry,
Madeline.
well, I was just gonna say, really, like, for me, Sheldon feels like the creator saw like the weird kid in school and thought, "Look at that weird kid. Let's put the weird kid in our show." Like, it feels really like offensive. Like they're making fun of like this kid that was like really like, oh, he was really into this and really into that. What a freak! Like it just feels bad. The whole thing just feels bad.
Yeah, I think there's like an intentionality behind Sheldon Cooper as a character that isn't there with Sean Murphy, because I think the intention, as much as the execution, I think the intention of Sean Murphy was like, hey, autistic people have a valid experience. We want to tell their stories too, and how they can be a positive impact on the world. And that might have been clumsy and like missed the mark in a lot of ways. But I think at the end of the day, the whole point of Sheldon was to laugh at him and how weird he was. Whereas, like, you were supposed to see Sean as this aspirational character, and like it's a standard that I don't think any autistic person should be held to. But it was still trying to be good, whereas like Sheldon was intentionally bad to laugh at him, to be the butt of jokes. So I would say that like Sheldon is right down there with music, personally.
I think.
Yeah, I think it. Yeah,
sorry,
absolutely, I agree.
Yeah, I think a little. I think more negative than Rain Man. I think, but I think
Oh, that's probably true. Yeah,
less
I agree.
for others than music, because
Well, the other is the audience. He's to make the audience laugh. That
that's
would be his other.
true. But in terms of his own character, it's kind of weird. Like, he is very self-driven. I think he exists as like the middle ground of negative, like how Rick
I'm
is the
going
middle ground of
to-
negatives, but more towards.
I'm going to push back against that because he only starts to grow as a person and become better after he starts dating Amy Farrah Fowler. His
That's true.
growth is for her benefit, not his own.
That's a good point. Okay, good argument there. I like that. Okay, let's move him let's move Sheldon a little more towards under Rain Man, I think. Not quite as far as Rain Man, because I feel like that's another level of, like, for others, because Rain Man is... Now, actually, let me move Rain Man over even more, because, like, I feel like he is
thing is that Amy Farrah Fowler is also very autistic coded.
That's true.
And I think is honestly better and more relatable than Sheldon and more better written. Not great, but like bar is low because it's Big Bang Theory.
That's valid. All right, Madeline, your choice. Who's next?
For some reason this character just kind of popped into my head. It's a non-canonical, perhaps autistic rep, and I don't even think a lot of people know about this show, but I can at least stand and promote a manga that I really, really like.
Mm-hmm.
The manga is called Bloom Into You. It's a fairly well-known Yuri manga, and one of the main characters is named Yu Koyo. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but she is, I think, very autism coded because her journey is about like understanding what love means to her, because she seems to have a hard time like with emotions. And me just look at that stare, for instance. Like she, I don't know. I felt very seen when I read that. I think, I don't know. I'm just telling your chat to read or watch Bloom Into You. Though the manga actually finishes the story. The anime
will
doesn't.
Second that recommendation. Bloom Into You is actually fantastic.
There you go.
I'd say more towards the center of positive. I'd say is a fair place.
Yeah, I think the fact that she has that she has to kind of learn what love means for her as opposed to what love means for other people is something that I very much relate to as somebody that has troubles with those things. I don't know. That just came to me.
I agree. Give me a few super chats before we move on. Let me read a few real quick. Here you go. Joseph Citadino, thank you for super chat. For a fun, rich, autistic person, Nagi Senzinzin from Combat Butler Hayate, which I have not seen. So I apologize if I mispronounced the name. A show I don't think anyone here knows. I don't know it. I know of it, but I haven't seen it. Is unintentionally autistic coded. I'll take your word for it. That sounds like it's been on my list for a while, but I've never actually watched it. Kippy, I don't know if you've played Persona 5 Strikers, but Ichinose Kuon is never described as autistic, but wow, she definitely is autistic. Yeah, valid. Adrian Parchment, Sterling Archer. Yeah, that's another one I'm going to put in the poll next time. Archer is canonically autistic. People don't always realize that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's canon. It's canon. He's canonically. Right. It doesn't come up too often, but that's a thing. Terminal sanity. Everything about Big Bang Theory feels like people who consider themselves normal think nerds act. Yeah, agreed, 100%. And Koi D Collector, Sheldon was so racist, homophobic, and sexist. Agreed on all fronts. Also, I want to point this out right now because I saw it mentioned. There was reference to, what was it? Insanity. There's certain shows that we have friends who are in, so I feel uncomfortable discussing the canonicity of their autism in the show because I know the people who are in it personally. So I'm gonna hold off on mentioning that. I'm also seeing Mary and Max mentioned. I hold on to that thought. Krim, any thoughts?
On what?
On any other character. It's your turn.
Oh, it's my turn.
Yeah, it's your turn.
I didn't realize.
Yeah,
Okay. I saw this mentioned in chat, but it is one that I wanted to bring up. Julian Bashir from Star Trek. Yeah, Star Trek DS9.
Yes. I was hoping for that one. Yeah.
For those that don't know,
a good photo.
I'll explain who Julian Bashir is and what happened to him, and I think it's a very contentious, interesting character.
Mm-hmm.
So, in the Star Trek universe, if you were familiar with Khan and that whole plot, because of what Khan and his people who are genetically engineered super soldiers, what happened with them, genetic engineering was outlawed in the Federation. So you're not allowed to genetically alter human beings or like human-like beings if you're part of the Federation. It's against the law. And when Julian was young, he displayed signs of... I don't think autism is ever said, but it's heavily implied that he was... Not heavily implied. It's outright said that he was mentally disabled. And one day, his parents just take him into this doctor, and he changes. He just outright changes as a person, and he didn't really understand what happened to him. All he knows is that he was one way, and then he was another way. And it turns out that his parents had a procedure done on him. They genetically engineered him to be super intelligent. And the episode, and this is illegal, so if people found this out about him, he could lose his job, he could get arrested, his parents could get arrested, he would never be able to work for the Federation, his status as a citizen might be up for debate, he could get banished, like all of these things could happen to him if they find out. And he's also like very upset because like, you never gave me a chance to see what I could have been if you just let me be who I was. And it goes in really interesting conflict with Geordie LaForge from The Next Generation, who was born blind because of a genetic defect, but lived a very full and successful life, and they kind of have similar roles in both shows. But Geordie, on one hand, was just allowed to be who he is and prove himself as an individual, whereas Bashir was meddled with as a child and was never allowed to find out what kind of person he could have been if his parents hadn't done that. So I think it's interesting, and I think like this is Gene Roddenberry and friends projecting forward to be like, well, they're going to try to cure autism and other such. Yeah. But like, does it need to be cured? And like, I think that we're probably going to get to the point where we're going to start asking that question, and I don't know. I think it's projecting forward into the future a little bit, and
yeah,
you know, Star Trek has always been on that cutting edge, so I think it's a really interesting example.
I agree. And I think it's important also to mention that, you know, again, as technology becomes better, as we get more like access to newer and more incredible ways of medical technology and all that, stuff like that could feasibly happen. So yeah, 100%. And I think that's a big discussion too around autism too. That how does one get treated with autism? Like the idea of an autism cure is floated around several times, and it's like one of those things where it's like, well, is that something that needs to be cured? I don't think so. It's just a different way of viewing the world. It's not necessarily like a defect or a disease. It's just a different, so the perspective of it is very different in society, especially when Star Trek Deep Space Nine was airing. Like, that was, our perspective of it has matured since the 90s, but like, again, forward thinking. It is forward thinking. It is thinking about how people would perceive certain things and discussing those topics that were contemporary at the time and are still relevant, because a lot of people do still encourage masking as a main treatment for autism. So if it's invisible, it's the idea that if you can't see it, it's not real. And what's the next step for that? Going inside the brain and tinkering around. No,
absolutely. It's really scary.
It is.
Yeah, it's, again, as somebody that's had to mask for multiple reasons as a closeted trans person, and then not even realizing I was autistic and coding that, masking that stuff, it really is terrifying.
I am inclined to say he is positive, but not entirely for the self, because part of the character's benefit is for the sake of illustrating a message for others, even though outside of that story he is entirely a self-driven character with all that. I'm going to move his face so he's not like completely covered by.
Yeah, because the whole thing is that, like, hey, parents, you really messed up. You should have let Julian be who he is. And it's like, more criticism of how people treat autistic people rather than how you move through the world as an autistic person, because we don't know how Julian would have moved through the world as an autistic person because he was quote unquote cured as a child, and this is something he's furious about, and he makes his observance of that very, very clear. That's like, you never let me be the person that I was born as. You forced this on me. I never asked for it. So we know how he feels about it, but we don't really know what his experiences would have been like as someone with autism because, we don't see that version of him.
Yeah. And if
I haven't
Deep Space
seen
Nine,
the
watch
This
it.
is making me want to watch the show. I've never seen it, but I've heard it's amazing.
Oh, it's so good.
Watch Deep Space Nine. You got
No, everyone I know is like, watch Deep Space Nine. But everything you're saying is like, I feel like a lot of my transition and coming out has been like trying to unmask and finding out how difficult that is. Like, all of these behaviors that I want to do, I found I've just like internalized and like just shot deep down inside of myself because they were bad. I want to allow myself to, I guess for lack of a better word, be more autistic. Which is kind of a weird thing to say.
I know what you mean.
I'll say this also. People tend to like obsess over like people talk like Star Wars like it's a good piece of sci-fi. No. Star Trek is much better than Star Trek.
I like the Star Trek I've seen. I gotta get.
I think DS9 is interesting because there is so many examples of like characters unmasking and becoming more of who they are, and you have like characters like Jadzia Dax who like very like. Has a same-sex relationship on screen that like shares a kiss. Also is a really good. I don't even know if I want to say allegory, but goes.
Yeah, I don't think it's allegorical.
He's a No, I don't think it's allegorical. Like, goes from being male to female and back and forth. Like, is a gender fluid like entity, and like you've got like we've got like certain aliens like, oh, I'm gonna like pretend to be to be male to fit in, and then it's like, actually I'm a woman and I want to live as a woman. It's just DS9 has like a lot of stuff like that. You've got like Quark that is like Quark, yes, also kind of conforms to society, but to the Ferengi society, but doesn't really fit in because of his values. You've got Odo, who like also tries to mask his appearance and how he like is different because he's a changeling and he has to like kind of do all that upkeep and like behind the scenes and doesn't let people see that. It's so good, I think, for like people that are like neurodivergent and queer. Like, there's so many good characters in DS9 specifically that are so relatable. Also, the lead character, the captain, is a black man. Which again, in the 90s, like, not just a black man that's like a replacement for like, oh, he could be a white guy but he's a black guy, if that makes sense. But he like includes parts of his culture like in the character. I don't know, there's just so many good things about DS9 that like I could go on about it for days, and I'll shut up now.
Okay, so this next sorry.
I was gonna say all of that sounds amazing, and it just kind of reminds me again why I like Peridot from Steven Universe so much, is because her journey is literally learning to unmask, to be more herself, and to be goofy and to be cringe with it. And I want that for myself too.
I got a character.
Yeah,
okay,
awesome.
So my next character is not canonically autistic, but I think is coded as autistic.
Is this a good one, or are you gonna do like another?
This is
another
one
stinker
that may be complicated. I'm not gonna lie.
Okay.
And Krim, I think, will get this more than you, Madeline.
Okay.
But I think this character is worth discussing because there's a lot of nuance here. Let's talk about Rei Ayanami.
It's not just Rei, though. It's her and Kaoru, I think, because they are like basically the same. So,
that is true, but I think focusing on Rei might be more interesting because I think with Kaoru we all kind of. I'll just put where I think Kaoru. I think we both agreed Kaoru is a positive character, but like exists more to inspire
for
others.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm just gonna put Kaoru.
But Rei is more.
Like, Rei is more complicated because, like, Kaoru.
Yeah, exactly.
Kaoru, we know where he's
cut and dry.
Like, he's going. he's going positive, but he's going for others. He's not like no. But
literally for a single person.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
He's there to
Which
inspire
is
change in
like
Shinji.
the
but
gayest thing that I've ever seen. But anyway,
but Rei, I
That's
think,
not
is
a
what
different
complicated.
chart. The queerness is a different chart. Very
Yeah.
excited for
Yeah.
that one.
We'll save that for June. No, but Rei I think is interesting because on one hand she does inspire change in, and I'm focusing specifically on the original series, not so much on Rebuild. But in the original series,
yeah, let's fuck Rebuild.
let's put Rebuild aside. Just the original anime.
Fuck it.
She is inspired to change by others, especially Rei 2 specifically, not Rei 3. Rei 3 is its own can of worms too, but Rei 2, her growth is determined by... She's a character who I think is best described as has feelings but does not know how to emote them. Like, she has feelings and desires and wants, but she doesn't seem to know how to communicate them. Yeah, she masks. She masks, and I think to an extent she's not really aware of how to express herself socially. But she also masks intensely. I think there's some moments where you see some sincere, like really the sincere depths to her emotional journey and pain, and it's as she gets to know people and develops bonds towards others. I think Rei's a deeply tragic character. I think when I was younger, I didn't get Rei as a character, but as I got older, I really started to understand her more. I'd also probably say that all the kids are autistic.
I don't know about autistic, but I definitely
Or at least
think there's
suffering
shit
from
going on.
Asuka's
Post-traumatic
definitely...
stress disorder.
I think
to
Asuka's
the
definitely
nth
autistic.
degree.
I don't know if I'd say autistic for Asuka, but like there's definitely something going on that's deeply traumatized there.
She's a lot.
But like I think that comes more from Ano probably being on the spectrum, to be honest with you.
If Ano's not autistic, I'd be deeply shocked. Like, I feel like
Ano and Takashi Fujimoto, if they don't have some sort of autism, I don't know.
You ever read the manga?
If they don't, I definitely don't.
You ever read Ano's manga, the manga by Ano's wife about like being married to Ano and like all the different like idiosyncrasies he has? I'm like, the guy's definitely has something. He has something going on there.
Oh my god.
It's great.
This is a weird one for me, considering like the revelations about her character. This is outside my element. I don't know. You can do whatever you want. There's a lot going on with this character beyond just what we're talking about.
The reason that I wanted to bring up Kaoru as well is because these two characters exist in a sort of dichotomy with one another as the truth to what they are is revealed. Like, let's look at like her becoming Lilith, or the forbidden being, I suppose, because at that point she's combined with Kaoru, whereas her unmasking is a force of destruction that destroys everything. And when she's
that's so relatable.
When her half is communicating with Shinji, she's terrifying. Like this. Well, because Kaoru comes in and he's just this positive person who like believes in humanity, whereas like Rei is like, it's not even worth being like an individual person. Like, she's the one that is like trying to like
just the visual of her sunken in eyes, and like her anatomy is frightening in End of Eva, where like her eyes are like these sunken in black holes, and she's sprouting weird growths from her body, and she's becoming the size of a planet. Like, it's deeply grotesque and horrifying when she just shows exactly what she truly is.
And it's like that's when she's gaining self-actualization as well.
And
I think that's she makes a decision that like humanity isn't worth protecting or like being individuals. It's better to like curl up into like a ball and like not even be individuals anymore.
Like, she rips out Gendo's arm too. Like, don't forget that. Like, he
deserved that. He deserved that.
He does, but like she rips his arm out and then sucks it into her chest. Like, it's deeply unsettling body horror. Like there's
And then there's
yeah.
like some non-consensual, like sexual situations that happen there.
deep like there's a lot of
So-
trauma. Like yeah, Ray has a lot going on.
No, but I mean that there's like
positive.
she has she like in like that in like the mindscape of the weird like Kang ocean. She is like assaulting Shinji as well.
Yeah, it's completely violation. It's violation. It's a violation of the mind. Everyone is
And the body.
and the body.
Well,
They're
I mean,
all
look, when you're a clone of your coworker's mom, your brain's gonna be messed up. Is all I'm saying.
Yes.
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
you're gonna get a little autistic with it.
So
No, absolutely.
am I?
I don't know. I would say that she's quite a negative I don't think that she's the bad. I like her as a character, but unfortunately, I think that she's a pretty bad.
Well, I think
Yeah.
so too. If we're
think
talking
it's
about
fair.
purely, because I'm also like thinking like, are we just gonna like say every like quiet like antisocial character in anime is autism coded? Like,
I mean,
is
by that
Yuki
same metric-
Nakato from Haruhi Suzumiya
I was gonna say
autism
Yuki.
coded?
Yeah, I was gonna say Yuki from Haruhi. I think is a very different. But Yuki, I think, is interesting in that she's kind of the antithesis of Rei in the execution, where she does.
That's not my take, by the way. I'm just using it as an
No,
example.
I'll throw it in too because I think it's relevant with Rei, like with Kaoru. I feel like she's like kind
I
of.
think
Sorry. Like the polar opposite, I would say. Like kind of the same decisions, but like more for others. Like she's more for others' growth than Rei is. Rei's decisions are more her choices, whereas Yuki's decisions are more to keep people around her, which is, fair, but I think it's like kind of the opposite of Rei in that sense, where it's more for others and for the self.
Well, it's for
I think
Keon. Yeah, it's
Keon.
I-
Keon. Yeah.
I think
Keon.
I think that also that like the reason I bring up Kaoru is I think that there's like possibly a bit of misogyny going on as well on the writer's part.
Yeah.
Or at least even if it isn't misogyny, it's like it's a gynophobia situation because Shinji has gynophobia. He's afraid of women, and I don't think it's a coincidence that the only characters that he really gets emotionally close to and unguarded with are men. I don't think that means that he's gay necessarily. I mean, like I read him as bisexual, but I think
We've
that
had
like
this conversation before.
He's definitely attracted to
Yeah.
Asta. That's
yeah,
fair.
he definitely finds women
Shinji is a
attractive.
trans woman. I will not hear.
Okay.
I will not hear
Okay.
otherwise.
Okay, but
Okay, but like that's not what I'm talking. That's not really what I'm
Right.
talking
In
about.
addition,
I'm
in
more.
addition to liking men. In addition to liking
Okay.
men, yes.
so but like
But what I'm saying is that like Kaoru has the benefit of having like he's got like the same kind of mentality of himself that Rei does, but he's allowed to be the self-sacrificing hero that gives Shinji his life to protect him, and that's what his love does. But because the love of a man, like that's like a positive thing. That's self-sacrificing. That's whereas like this weird this the way that Rei feels towards Shinji is not really love, and it's kind of parasitic, and she's going to be using him, and like I feel like there's a bit of gynophobia and maybe even a bit of misogyny in there.
I think another factor too is that when Kaoru no longer masks what he feels, it's seen as overly positive. He is self-sacrificing and loving. When Rei stops masking, the female anatomy becomes a nightmare for one. There's a lot of imagery about her that's vaginal, that's edible and Freudian and nightmarish, but also the moment she stops masking, she rips someone's arm off. Like that's her. Like she's very aggressive in a way that is unlike
And we
Kaoru,
love
who's
that
very
for her.
passive.
That's great.
Oh yeah, and
We
it's
love
great
that.
to watch because she's just at
We
first she's
love a
attacking
messy-
Genji.
Yeah,
which is great.
We do.
I love all these characters. I like Evangelion is one of my favorite things ever.
Same.
I'm just saying in terms of autism representation.
It's not
anime.
positive. It's not the most positive.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we can let chat choose the next one. I base this on 4 different answers I've seen a lot: Archer, Deku, Sherlock Holmes, Futaba. Chat, decide, and if you're watching right now and haven't liked the video, do so, please, because that would be helpful to the algorithm.
I've been calling him Deku.
Deku?
Like the Deku tree. Or
Deku.
I guess it's not called
Green
the Deku
That's
tree.
also Deku
It's
tree.
Deku
I always
tree.
call it Deku.
Yeah.
as the
Yeah, it's
Deku
Deku.
tree.
Yeah.
Deku.
Yeah,
Again,
you
that's the
gotta.
problem
It's
with
you know,
reading
it's a
it, not saying
Japanese word. Yeah, it's a Japanese word, and like they don't have unless you see like a weird accent on top of something, like a little wiggly line or something. You pronounce the syllables all the same. Like there's no, you don't shorten any of the syllables. They're all
Absolutely.
kind of.
I've been mispronouncing English names.
Yeah, I
I don't
mispronounce
even-
everything. It's terrible.
I just can't. I can't even with any of this stuff.
Okay, it looks like it's very close between Sherlock Holmes and Futaba.
I had an argument with a friend of mine back when this movie first came out. But Promare, when it came out, my friend insisted that it must be pronounced Promare because if it's a Japanese movie, so it has a Japanese name. And I was like, no, it's Promare. They say Promare out loud in the anime. Also, it literally takes place in I think it's one of the deserts in the United States is where it takes place, and all of the characters have English names. It's
all right, so it looks like
it's definitely Promare. It was so it's interesting how the Japanese pronunciation thing can be taken too far in the other
it's funny,
direction.
Though. Okay, so we got a 2-way tie between Sherlock Holmes and Futaba. Let's get Futaba first, because I feel like I'm the only one who's played Persona 4 or 5 among the 3 of us.
I played like the beginning
yeah.
of it. I didn't get to the part where you get Futaba as a character.
Okay.
But she is all of the things I love to see in a character: long hair, nerd, goggles. I mean, she looks like Entrapta with orange hair, so I assume she's great.
More of a neat, I'd say. Some of her character is...
I love my geeks. I love my excited nerdy women. That's what I want to be. Yeah.
She's very much like a dorky, nerdy character. Very upset. She's really good, but again, like she is there also to facilitate growth in the other characters as well. So it's kind of, I'd say, more towards the middle. I'd say she's not totally for others or for herself. She's more kind of a supporting character.
Well, that's kind of the Persona thing, though, right?
Yeah,
like everyone is kind
social
of
links
for...
and all that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think this is a fair place for Futaba. I think she's a really good character. I like her. She's definitely more of an NPC type character, but like in a way that's compelling and interesting. I like her. I think she's really cool. She's basically a need, is the best way of putting it.
We love it. We love to see it.
Now, that being said, though, let me talk about the big one. Because I feel like when you were talking about The Good Doctor before, I feel like we were inching on this discussion. And I'm going to include this visual of Sherlock Holmes just because I think it's fair. Yeah, because it's not really just one version, but like all of them collectively.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
Okay, I think, well, we got to talk about, like, maybe not, actually. Maybe you're right. Maybe they are just kind of all the same, kind of autistic.
Yeah, because they all have the same commonality. Like, regardless of how they're adapted.
Yeah, like, I was thinking, like, yeah, even if it's a bad adaptation, it's still going to be the same kind of idea.
Yeah. Sherlock Holmes doesn't change at the core of his character too much. It's more the superficials that change. Like, is he more of a drug addict than not? Is he more eccentric than not? Like, is he more of a cold character than not? You know? But the
for
core
me,
of it
I
still
feel like
remains. I'm sorry, I cut you off.
he fills the stereotype, I think, of a neurodivergent person being selfish and only thinking about themselves. Which is something you often see in these kind of characters that are considered like the super genius characters, is that they're kind of allowed to be antisocial and a piece of shit because they are so good at what they do. I mean, that's basically House's character.
Well, House is also
Sherlock Holmes
adaptation of Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah,
that's
so
what
House
I mean. That's what I'm saying. Like, that's why I was including it. Yeah, because it is. And I love that it's just going from home to house.
I also will.
That's the bit.
Here we go.
I know.
That's
oh my
the
god.
joke.
Also,
don't joke explain to me.
Also, controversial take. I think, honestly, Of these characters, I think that Cumberbatch would not be the best depiction of Sherlock Holmes.
No,
Hot take, I
controversial.
know.
I think we're all kind of off Sherlock at this point in history.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know if it still has fans. But I guess
it
it
has
does.
fans.
Oh,
It has
BBC
fans.
Sherlock.
It has fans.
Yeah.
But I think that I honestly think that Robert Downey Jr. was not a bad Sherlock Holmes. I will.
Yeah,
I liked it. I think it's very fun.
I heard the
Sherlock, BBC Sherlock came out, and I was a fan. I mean, I'm kind of meh about Robert Downey Jr. these days because of Iron Man. I think he's the worst character ever.
Valid.
But I really
Come
liked him. I really liked him in the Sherlock Holmes movies that he was in. I thought it was my favorite at the time depiction of Sherlock Holmes until Elementary came out.
Elementary's really good. Did you ever see the 80s, I think it's the ITV show? That's a really good version of Sherlock Holmes.
That's what got me into Sherlock Holmes.
Oh, I love that version.
Yeah.
It's so good.
I
And,
mean, for me, the show will never the adaptations will never peak like they did with Sherlock Holmes in the 22nd century. The only depiction of Sherlock Holmes I will accept. He has
Valid.
a robot. He has a robot Watson.
That's valid. I will say this too, though. I think that Sherlock Holmes, though, doesn't always, unlike a lot of like the fictional, even like House to an extent does this, but I think like Sherlock Holmes exists more for Watson's sake in good adaptations than necessarily as his own character.
Right, because he comes from the literary tradition of like stories being told from like a first person account. So like you couldn't just have like somebody walking around like third person doing Holmes. You needed somebody to be like the outside looking in. That was kind of like the way you wrote back in the day. So like Watson was always like the self-insert character for us. Like we are watching Holmes through Watson's view on him.
Agreed. I think like Sherlock Holmes works as he is positive, I think, but not super positive. And he definitely exists on a spectrum depending on the adaptation for others to some extent. Like he doesn't really have much of a character arc across the stories. He's more a fully fleshed out character. Especially if you're talking about the short stories by Arthur Conan Doyle. Because again, that was like the crime periodical back in the day, except it was literary. You know, it existed purely for others to see change happen around him. I think that Sherlock Holmes is one of the best literary characters, period. But I also think that he's great because he is very standardized. He is consistent. He can be adapted in multiple ways, but you still get the core of the character. And I think that he's definitely has some tism going on there. I do love how he literally forgets that Earth is not the center of the solar system. Like, that's not just from the BBC version. That's actually canon in the Arthur Conan Doyle stories. That he deliberately forgets Earth is not the center of the solar system. Because it gets in the way of his actual hyperfixations, which is like the criminal sciences. Like he deliberately has to erase things from his brain to like spend more brain space on like things he thinks are practical. I love it. And he gets pissed off when Watson tells him about it because it's like wasting space in his brain for it.
A special shout out to the generic Sherlock Holmes from the Ace Attorney Chronicles games.
Oh, you mean like that's actually okay? So this is a fun little bit.
It is supposed to be Sherlock Holmes. They just couldn't get the rights to call him Sherlock Holmes.
Okay, so Madeline, do you want to know a really bit of nerdy literary history?
Okay.
That version of Sherlock Holmes, I forget how they name him in Ace Attorney, but that naming convention, it's the same naming convention used by another author almost a century prior to get around copyright laws with Sherlock Holmes. And that
I love that.
So they can have a crossover between Sherlock Holmes and the character the author created. And
Sherlock Sholmes. That's what his name is.
Exactly. That's exactly it.
Bizarro version.
And the character they were crossing over with was Arsène Lupin.
Yep, I'm seeing the comment. The comment
Yep.
section is all about this.
Arsène Lupin. Yep.
They're backing you up on this.
Yep, Herlock Sholmes. There we go. And again, what's funny is Lupin himself would end up being a very prominent character in anime history because there's a certain Monkey Punch based manga. It's Monkey Punch, right? That's the guy's name who did Lupin the Third.
I
think
don't
so.
know.
Let me double check that before.
Yeah, I had a friend that was really into Monkey Punch.
Yeah.
So
There we go. Yeah, it is Monkey Punch. Cool. The late great Monkey Punch, who made so basically it all comes full circle essentially.
There you go.
And also without Lupin the Third, we wouldn't have Hayao Miyazaki and Isao Takahata.
It's all connected. It's all connected.
It all comes together. Anyway, so we have a few. I think we have a little more time for a few more characters we can choose. I know.
I think I was skipped. I
don't think you were skipped.
have one.
You have one? Go for it.
No, because I said Yuki was not. I did not want that to be my choice.
Oh, no.
I was just
No, I never
saying that as
counted.
an
I
example.
didn't count that as yours. I just threw that in there just to
Thank
balance. Right. Go for it. What's your character?
Somebody reminded me of the Tales of franchise in the comment section, and that
Yippee.
reminded me of one of my favorite characters from that series. And you'll see a pattern in the characters that I like. Tales of Grace's Pascal.
play Tales of Grace.
Oh yeah.
Tales of Grace's is maybe my favorite in the whole series. I really like it.
Yeah.
And I love the character of Pascal. She
You-
rocks. And again,
You
look,
would like
I
this
have
character.
a type. It's fine.
I've
Just
noticed.
don't worry about it.
I've noticed. I've picked up on that over time. So
There's other characters like Presea from Symphonia that I think could probably be. Oh, she's cute. I like
Right?
her.
adorable.
Mhm.
All right. So
Yeah,
so
she is. She's very much like the Peridot and Trapta just kind of run. She's into science, and the dynamic between her and the guy, that has a crush on her but doesn't admit it, is like catnip to me. Forgot his name, but that was the only thing that mattered to me was the will they won't they between her and someone in the chat will tell me who it is.
Is
Incredible.
it that's like a Tales staple, is if there's a will they won't they.
Yeah.
The best
and they
ones,
never
I think the best Tales
confirm.
games just give it to you. The newest Tales I thought was really good, and it did have they actually just kiss at the end, which is nice.
Would you say she's more like kind of in the center then, for positive or for the softwood?
Yeah, I think she kind of that's fine.
Okay.
Predictably, my favorite little pairing in the Tales series is Mikleo and Saray. And Saray's a little bit. I'm not gonna put him on there, but he could be argued that he's a little bit autistic. I think he's kind of like got that, but it's a bit of a stereotype. But also, I don't care.
Yeah. Valid.
Someone in the chat, it was Hubert is who she is paired with.
Yeah.
There we go.
Her and Hubert.
Okay.
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
So we're gonna go. I think we'll go a little quick round now because we are going a little
Yes.
longer on the chain. Krim,
Okay.
name someone.
Bill Potts from Doctor Who.
Oh, there we go. There we go.
Now, like, she's not confirmed, but a lot of people are like, oh, she's absolutely autistic. Like, she's very direct in her communication styles to the point of, like, it being kind of, like, awkward. She's kind of has that sort of outsider thing. And, you know, she struggles with, I think, loneliness. And I think, like, with, like, a lot of companions of the Doctor, there's that whole thing of, and she's also like not one of those ones that like the super special ones that is part of the Doctor's destiny. She's just a gal.
Yeah.
And she her girlfriend is a living puddle, so that's pretty cool.
Doctor Who got
we
weird
love that for her.
since I last watched it. A living puddle, huh?
But she, I mean, like, I'm being a bit reductive, but
Valid.
The thing is, unfortunately, like most Doctor Who companions, she does meet a bit of a tragic end, but she also becomes a living puddle to be with her girlfriend forever. So that's pretty cool. But she does get turned into a cyber woman, I suppose, which is very tragic. But I do like her sort of arc as a character. But I would say that because she's a companion. So
Mm.
for
Yeah.
herself, for others, I would say it probably leans in the middle. But I would say that she's definitely a positive representation. I think she's a very relatable, well-rounded character. She's not just leaning on those traits. She's got like her own story going on. But
Makes sense. All right, so I got one that I want to talk about, and I know Steve Nadir from Community. We'll get to that one too, but there's one I've wanted to talk about this whole time. He's on the thumbnail. This is going to be one that I think might be a bit of a deep cut, but I think it's important to discuss. You ever seen the movie Mary and Max?
I heard it's really good.
It's heartbreaking. It's about it's a story between a friendship between an older autistic man and like this younger girl, and I think they're both kind of autistic. I feel that's the case with it. It's deeply tragic and sad. They're kind of, I don't know if it's positive or negative, because they do frame it as like they're like total outsiders who can't really connect to the rest of the world, but they connect to each other. It's, I don't want to say too much because it is a lesser seen movie, and I don't want to say what happens in it because it is deeply sad, like deeply sad.
Yeah.
And I don't want to bring the mood down too much, but it is a beautiful movie that's also a deeply like a, you know, when a movie you can tell, like we were talking about Rain Man before, and about like how cynical it felt like the story was. This is very earnest sadness. I think it's a very positive portrayal, if not very sad. But I do think that it's also not really a portrayal for the self. It's more how people can connect to each other. I do want to bring it up. I just want to bring it up because it is so heartbreaking, but I think it's positive more for the center than anything else.
We're allowed to have tragedies about us too.
Oh, it's deeply tragic, and it's a good thing. It's a good thing. It's deeply tragic, but it's like, again, I don't want to say too much because it's not a very widely seen movie. But if you are curious about a really good piece of claymation animation that's like deeply sad and deeply empathetic, watch it. Because it's something. It's unique, I'll say. I'm gonna give up the chat next. I think we're gonna wrap up probably soonish because I think I do have a lot of editing I gotta get done for Friday's video, which I'll show off the thumbnail for before we're done. But I think I'll give chat one more go, then we'll all have one last character selection. That sound good?
Sure.
Okay, cool. And then chat will get another one as well. So this is your second last chance, chat. Because I know who my last character I want to bring up is. I've saved my boy for last, who I'm not putting in the option, by the way, because I'm going to choose him later. But we'll get to that. Archer is going to be an option. And I'm seeing a lot of people say Naruto a lot, so I'll add Naruto Uzumaki as well. Who I don't think he's really autistic, but he is definitely something. All right, poll, choose. Choose the form of the destructor. We'll see what they say. Naruto right off the back, it's 100%. Love it. Okay, so Deku is currently neck and neck with Archer. And if everyone watching can leave a like on the video if you haven't already, once again. Columbo is not autistic. I don't think he's autistic at all. Columbo's Columbo.
I think, yeah. Well, I think a lot of these suggestions I've been reading kind of, I think, point to at least like a popular conception of like what autism looks like, which is not without its problems. I think. I mean, for instance, like in our list, we haven't really talked about. Oh, hi, Ash.
Oh, Ash is in chat.
He's listening in.
I see.
Okay, but I was saying, like, in our in this list, we haven't really talked about anybody that I would say is like on the far end of the spectrum. You know, the people that are nonverbal, that are unable to really communicate a lot for themselves. I think that is something we don't. I mean,
Agreed.
not enough time to get into it now, but that is a representation that I think is just as needed, if not more so.
Absolutely.
I agree. All right. Yeah, nonverbal is very important, I think, especially. And there's just not a lot of portrayals of it, really, that don't fall back on stereotypes, which is troubling, I feel
like the people that I work with, like a lot of them, even the ones that are like vocal to some degree, have a very hard time communicating and really have a difficult time if will never be able to kind of live on their own. They'll always need some kind of assistance. And yeah, we definitely need more positive representations of that side of the spectrum as well.
I agree. All right, a couple super chats I want to read real quick before we talk about Archer. Meryl from Dragon Age 2, Bellara from Barella Lutare from Dragon Age Vanguard. Those definitely options, I think. Nick Wolf, Tales of is underrated. I remember pitching with high school friends an alternate Kingdom Hearts that mixed Tales of with the Looney Tunes.
Oh my god.
That is, you are hitting Crim right in the autism.
Oh my god.
Put Looney Tunes in Kingdom Hearts.
I'll be down for that.
That's not. Friend Roger Rabbit in Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah, because we had such an easy time getting Looney Tunes as a movie that came out in theaters, let alone.
That's right. That's right.
Anyway, Archer. So Archer is interesting because I feel like he has very few traits that are visibly autistic. He's very much a proof that the spectrum is a whole spectrum of traits. I love Archer as a character, but I don't know how I feel about him as autistic rep. But at the same time, isn't it important to have kind of neutral pieces of rep as well? He's also a sociopathic, comedic sociopath, though, so that's a factor.
Yeah, I mean, I feel the same way I would about like a Sherlock or an Iron Man type of character. This is the kind of autism that like Elon Musk imagines himself to be, when he's just a terrible asshole, regardless of what's going on with him.
Phrasing. No, well,
Phrasing.
Archer is interesting. I also, this is also kind of a matter of like animation and voice actors, but I also can't help but think of Bob from Bob's Burgers whenever I see Archer.
I mean, they are the same guy, apparently.
Same guy.
That's canon.
Oh my god. Freaking speaking of, Tina from Bob's Burgers is absolutely autistic coded. Like, absolutely.
I think she says that she's autistic, or somebody. Like,
no, we gotta put my girl Tina. She's like the depiction, if anything. I love her.
Fair. Okay, I'll put Tina on as well. That's not your choice.
All the Belcher kids are a little.
Yeah, the Belchers.
Seriously.
That's just an autistic family.
Yeah, they're very much so.
But Tina specifically, because that is a very. She's probably the best representation of like that side of the spectrum of autism. I think she's great.
I love Tina.
That is like a show for autistic people, I think.
Oh yeah,
that's
100%.
very true.
I think Archer should go more towards the kind of lower, but like lower negative, if that makes sense. Like I feel as autistic rep, he's just kind of like, he's just kind of there. I don't know how I feel about that.
Mm-hmm.
Like I love the character, but I don't know.
He's also like an unfeeling sociopath. Like it's kind of like.
Yeah,
I don't know. I put him down pretty far in the negative if it were me, but
I might put him over here actually. Definitely for the self, though. I will say that he is definitely.
It's just interesting. It's like I said before. It's this interesting kind of character that's like, because they can do like save the day and they're cool. They're kind of allowed to be an asshole.
Yeah.
For some reason. Yeah,
that's valid. Okay, I'll put him right there. That sounds good. And Tina's right there. Okay, so Madeline, character, final one.
My final fuck.
You don't know yours. I know mine.
Yeah, I know who I'm gonna put for my last one.
Fuck,
if you choose this character, I'm gonna like actually be like, okay, crap, I gotta think of something else.
I mean, I think I know who you're gonna pick. Because I was thinking it too. Maybe I'll just skip that one. It would be a bad example. If we're thinking of I don't know if you're thinking of the same one, but it would be a bad example. come back to me.
Okay. Krim?
Okay, I have. Yeah, okay. Seymour from Little Shop, brought to you by the fact that I was supposed to go see Little Shop of Horrors tonight.
Yeah.
But the whole cast got sick, so I'm not gonna go see it until next week. But yeah.
And I'm gonna make
I
sure,
can see that.
as betrayed by
I can
Canadian
see
legend
that.
Rick Moranis.
Yippee, Rick Moranis, what every trans guy kind of wanted to be in their
Oh my God,
late
that
teens,
is-
early 20s.
So real.
Rick
Um,
Moranis seems like a really cool guy,
I-
though. Like, he gave up acting to raise his kids after his wife passed away. That's, I don't know.
Yeah,
that,
we
that
love
to
him.
me seems
We
really
can.
beautiful.
I don't know if he's I think for a lot of trans guys, he's especially trans guys that are attracted to other guys. It's like, I don't know if I want him or if I want to be him.
I will let you
Yeah.
disentangle
And
that
that's
one.
me with all my picks that I've made.
I would say that it's definitely for the self. Yeah,
Yeah.
because it is, the story is his story.
I don't know if I feel positive or negative.
I think he's
more-
right in the. He's definitely more positive, but I wouldn't put him very high up. 'Cause,
No, I mean, he does feed people to plants. That's a bit of a factor.
yeah, but which I think autistic
Oh,
people
huh.
should be allowed to do. you
Yeah,
know?
just dump people's bodies into sentient living plants that sing.
And the metaphor that is going on, I think actually, because it's about giving in to I don't know, I'm not gonna right now describe the metaphor of Little Shop of Horrors, but I think that you could argue that it is also about becoming more who you are, regardless of regardless if it very in the musical tradition of something bad's probably gonna happen, but fuck it.
Yeah, exactly. I'm also seeing someone
also there's
thinking-
a metaphor.
Sorry,
Yeah, go ahead.
I cut you off there. I was going to say something totally different. Go for it.
Metaphor for queerness, especially considering the creators.
Oh yeah, no. So
Howard
those who
Ashman.
don't, Howard Ashman, yeah, exactly. I was going to say who did the Little Mermaid and Beauty and the Beast, who died of AIDS. This is that musical is what got him in the door with Disney, basically.
Howard Ashman and the other one,
Menken.
Menken.
What's his first name?
Alan Menken, and
Alan
also Frank Oz did the practical effects, and he's the guy that does the Jim Henson. He's the voice of Miss Piggy.
In fairness, though, Frank Oz was well known before Little Shop of Horrors.
Yes.
Though. That's the thing
Yeah,
that
this
was
is true.
mentioning.
Yeah.
I got one.
You got one? Go for it.
I thought of one. This is a weird one. I don't even know how I feel about this, but it came to my head, and now I feel like I have to put it out there into the world. This is so. I also apologies to people that are trying to at me in chat because they found out that I'm looking at chat and they want me to say their picks out loud. Apologies for all of you. Okay, the boy from the Twilight Zone episode, "It's a Good Life."
Oh, interesting choice. Okay, that works though.
I know. I don't know what to feel about that, but that just came to my head like a intrusive thought.
I hate that you.
So now that's a perfect
I hate
picture.
that you recommended it to me, but that is actually a good example.
He has, he hates music for one. He has a lot of traits that are very specific. He just also has all of the power of a god.
Yeah, that's the frightening component. He can rewrite reality. He's basically.
I don't think it's a good representation, but it's interesting at least.
Oh, it's definitely for the self, kind of in the same
Yes,
league as the
absolutely
maker.
for the self, and it probably is negative.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know. That just came to me. I just love the Twilight Zone in general.
That's
so.
valid. And I think another horror villain, this is not my choice, but I feel like it just connects. I saw in chat mentioned, and I feel like there's no other place for this outside of this one mentioned right now. I'm going to mention this really briefly, but I think it's the only place to bring it up. Because there's no other... This is not my choice, it's just chat brought it up, so I'm blaming chat. Herbert West from Reanimator?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I didn't even think of that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Mhm.
Definitely negative, but
Definitely negative,
Negative
but also
and for self. Negative and for
For
self,
self.
to the millionth degree.
actually,
maybe not even that
because
negative.
because the other guy,
Oh yeah. Who he's with?
Yeah,
No,
you know,
I love him. I mean, we stand him in the Madeline household.
Yeah.
But
yeah. Listen,
very negative.
here's the
probably.
thing: if you're not a little freak about Rick Moranis and you're a trans guy, you're a freak about this guy. It's one or the other. You don't have any options. Herbert
Valid.
West or Rick Moranis.
I love it. Yeah, no. Basically, any Jeffrey Combs character I'm seeing in chat, people mention. Yeah, that basically sums it up. Especially the Frighteners, where he. I'm kidding. Anyway, but that wasn't my choice for the character I wanted to choose. I just threw that there because chat kept mentioning him.
Yeah, I would also maybe throw in a Daniel Jackson in there with the Herbert West and the Seymour, but
Yeah.
but like let's not. That's like a whole other discussion, I think. So
That's
but
valid.
Very similar vibes.
Okay, the character I was going to bring up, that everyone who knows me probably figured out I was going to mention from the very beginning, because I had to. But he's on the thumbnail. You knew he was coming. Leos from Dungeon Meshi. Again, problem with this whole thing is that I mainly read the manga, so I'm pronouncing it Leos because that's how I read the manga name. I'm not even sure. Leos. I can never pronounce, because again, I read the manga. Laos. So, yeah, again, read the manga. I always screw up with pronunciation with the characters, but he is fantastic. For one, his hyperfixation is eating monsters. He loves cooking. He loves. He just is fascinated by monsters. Kind of like how Deku is obsessed with superpowers, except to a bigger extent. He is sometimes very socially off-putting. He has been known to stim visibly at times when excited or nervous. Again, in a way, Laios, yeah, in a way that makes people uncomfortable, which is great. Because he's not portrayed as necessarily as the most flattering character. But again, the way he is shown as loving, and is some key scenes fairly early on where he kind of projects feelings of friendship onto others who look down on him and think he's a freak. And there's this look of hurt in his eyes and like genuine pain when he feels like he's been like, basically when he picks up on the fact that some people think he's like a joke or weird or off-putting, and he just seems so hurt by it, and I find that so immediately relatable and just emotionally just powerful. He's a character I think is fascinating. I see a lot of myself in this character in a way that's very sometimes will definitely give me a bias in favor of where I place this character on this list, but I really feel a lot of sympathy for him. He's a really great character.
Cool.
And,
no, I haven't seen the show or read the manga, but I've heard nothing but good things.
Oh, it's a great story. And you can tell the creator has a lot of love for her characters.
Mm-hmm.
Like a deep love for all of them, because she depicts them so. I believe it's she/her, right? Not like.
Yeah, it's she/her.
Yeah, cool, awesome. I'm not making a mistake there, because I know with some creators they don't reveal their gender and people just assume they're female when that's not necessarily the case. Mm-hmm. I feel like
that's the Jujutsu Kaisen one that is kind of like.
There we go.
Hasn't really revealed.
That's what I was thinking of. Okay, yeah, no, like she has a deep love for her characters, which is evident in how she depicts them on the page.
Yeah,
like there's a warmth to everything that she writes, and I think that's really a quality of good storytelling. Yeah, no. So if you haven't seen Dungeon Meshi, Delicious in Dungeon, watch it or read it. I recommend reading it because I think the manga art is so fantastic, but Studio Trigger does a great job with the animation too. So I'm going to put Laios as a more positive portrayal up there, more with the Dorito. Mm-hmm. And it's my video, so I'll do what I want.
But yeah, let's actually end it with the terrible one that everybody knows, and I feel like I have to say it or I'll explode. Newt Scamander, one of the worst depictions of autism I've ever seen.
I was gonna leave it the chat to decide the last one, but yeah, we'll put Newt on. Because
I feel like we got to do that.
We got to do. Yeah, I guess we got to do Newt.
I think that everybody has also been like clawing at at us to do Abed from Community?
Yeah, I agree. Let's end with Abed, because I feel like that's the
We'll
one
end
that
with a good
everyone
one
can
then.
agree.
Yeah.
So we'll end on a
But yeah,
positive
New
note.
Commander is everything wrong with autism representation, all the stereotypes, all the cliches, all of the like toxic traits that people just give to autism coded characters. It's gross. Like
Was written by J.K. Rowling, so
it was written by J.K. Rowling, who I think only understands autism through like a window that she looks down upon people a mile away from her fancy mansion that everybody knows the address to. It's publicly available. Yeah.
Well, let's not dox the billionaire on the stream, but but
It's not like it's just literally out there. That's what was so funny about that controversy is that you could just find out. Like it's part of tours
Madeline,
in England. Is her
Madeline,
house.
why can't you think of the poor billionaires at this time of the year?
You know what? I'm sorry. You're right. Let's think about the poor transphobic billionaires that are just trying
their hardest
by.
to push legislation to make other people suffer.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway,
I simply work here.
yeah, right. Anyway, I think that Newt is not great, but like not as bad as Sheldon.
He's pretty bad. He's pretty bad.
He's bad, but like not as bad as Sheldon. That's not a high bar.
This is like the bottom. This is like the bottom of the bar. Yeah.
It gets bad, but like Sheldon and music are worse. Let's keep that in perspective. They are worse. But
watch my video on Fantastic Beasts on my channel, Madeline May.
Okay, so let's just for chat actually upends the entire conversation. Let's just bring him in. Let's bring the boy in here. Okay, here we go. Our final selection of the evening is Abed from Community.
Is he canonically autistic?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, cool.
This is the second character by what's his name? Who did Rick and Morty?
Harmon.
Dan Harmon. There we go. The second Dan Harmon autistic character. Only unlike Rick Sanchez, this guy's actually kind of good in terms of like someone you like to see on screen.
Well, he was. I remember back in the day, he was like directly contrasted with Sheldon as an actually good autistic character.
Yeah, he's the anti-Sheldon essentially, in all senses of the word. Like very well-rounded, very developed, very interesting, very funny. Dan Harmon's accidental avatar. Yeah, basically. I like him. I think he's neat. I think he should be in positive, and not necessarily for the self or for others, but just kind of like in the positive. Just the positive right here. Like, it's very much middle of the road positive. He's great for facilitating other characters' arcs and other jokes involving other characters. He's great for himself. He's just a good
covering.
Like everyone
You're
kind of works
covering
together.
I'm covering Max.
one or your other.
Crud. I gotta make him tiny then. There's so little room here. Okay, here we go. That's good. He's right there. He's right there. And he's not white, so there we go. As opposed to like half these characters. Well, that's not true. There's a lot of diversity on screen action. Now I'm looking at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of them
And like the anime, and like the anime characters are like Japanese. So.
Except for Laios.
Yeah, except for Laios.
Except for Laios, he's just Laios.
Yeah, some of them are aliens. Some of them are clones.
Yeah.
Some of them are actually a couple of them are aliens. Now that I'm thinking about it, because
I guess
Yuki's an alien.
Yeah.
So's
Kaoru and Rei are because never mind. That's not really an alien because they're
kind of sorta they're part alien, kind of like on the soul level.
Yeah, but even then, the aliens are just they come from the same place as humans. So humans are aliens in Evangelion.
It's a whole thing.
Also, I think some people also pointed this out. Entrapta is a great positive example of a robot sexual in media, where we need more positive representations of girls that like to fuck machines.
Also, wouldn't all the characters from She-Ra technically be aliens because none of them are from Earth?
Yeah.
Damn.
But they still are
humanoid.
like they're humans. They're de facto humans, I would say.
Yeah, exactly.
Kind of like saying, "Oh well, elves aren't humans in Dungeons and Dragons." It's like, well,
they're human
sort
enough.
of, but not really. They're human enough, yeah.
I also am kind of happy we didn't find too many negative for others characters. Like most of who we found were characters who were self-actualized in some fashion or positive at the very least.
I
But-
think when you really get to the really negative ones, you do unfortunately get to the ones that are just like
We don't even want to talk about them.
Yeah.
people would use the R word to describe in a very
Yeah.
horrible way.
By
Don't
the
wanna
way, I
do
saw
it.
people in chat mention this. Forrest Gump is not autistic.
Yeah,
No.
he's got brain damage, I think.
Yeah, he has more. There's another word for it that I don't like to use that they use in the show movie. I think more than once, but he's developmentally challenged.
And also, yes, Entrapta is canonically sexually interested in robots. That
Yes,
is actually true.
that is something I am also acutely aware of, just because I have seen the show.
It's my favorite show. I love.
I love
Yeah.
the episode involving Dungeons and Dragons quite a bit, actually. I
Oh
will
my
say
God,
that.
yes.
That's one of the best.
Or it goes into the old, and then it goes into the old like He-Man style for a little. That's very funny.
Mhm.
Watch She-Ra if you're a girl. I guess not if you're a guy. Guys think it's too many ponies in it.
I
But
like
if you're
She-Ra.
a girl, go
I
see.
like it.
Go
I'm going.
watch She-Ra. Come out as trans and go watch She-Ra.
Oh my
Is it-
goodness.
I was being a little bit tongue in cheek. I just think that maybe I'm too old for She-Ra.
I was
Like,
30 when I
was-
watched it. Then again, I'm also
fair enough.
my autism is just watching cartoons. I
This is
guess
valid.
you know.
I watch a lot less cartoons. I mean, like, there are some cartoons I like, but I watch a lot less cartoons these days. So
That's valid.
Cartoons, but from an adult perspective. I am not one of those stunted youths that I keep hearing
Oh, I-
about.
think video is the stream
What?
Oh,
okay?
Stream's good. Why wouldn't it be?
Oh, you just deleted it, I think.
I just moved the
Yeah.
tab away. I'm going to upload the entire chart on the channel's page, but I want to show one thing off before we wrap up today. And thank everyone for joining. But first, I want to show off a preview of what's coming this Friday.
Uh-oh.
Ooh.
And by that,
What are you doing, buddy?
I mean a picture of of the thumbnail.
What could it be?
Oh, boy. My,
Wow, what a unique and not done to death stance.
Oh, you haven't even heard the stance yet. The title is tentatively titled, "I'm glad Star Wars Last Jedi ruined your childhood."
Wow. Point. Yeah, we're just.
Getting controversial.
I have
Yeah.
a related picture.
Oh my.
You don't have to share it if you don't want to, but
I may be down. Is it right there?
I just sent it, yeah.
Okay. So, Krim has just updated his profile picture, and he wants me to share it with everyone. Now, I must warn you, do not do this at home. However,
It's very spicy. I like spicy food. What can I say?
it
It
may.
reminds me of like you're eating an otter pop.
That is a lightsaber.
Yeah, that was the
Yeah.
yeah.
Krim.
It's just a very spicy otter pop, or as we call it
Exactly.
here, just popsicles or freezies, depending on if there's a stick in it.
You may be. You may have some cavities from this. I think it may cause some.
No, it makes
There is a
my
lot of
bones
sugar
stronger.
in lightsabers. True.
All right. A few last super chats before we wrap things up for today.
You don't have to leave that up on screen.
No, it's okay. I'm
Yeah,
going
you
to
do,
keep this
yeah,
up
you do.
now.
We need it. We need
Wise,
it.
wise guy, danger zone. There we go. And Iron, thank you for super chat. The Forrest Gump truther. Yeah, there we go. This is a Forrest Gump truth zone right here. It's a training lightsaber. They're saying in chat.
No, it's a real one, and I'm eating it, and it's very good for me.
It's very
I'm
nutritious.
I'm getting a lot of
Look how much he likes
nutrients.
it. Yeah.
Well, you want to eat
Yeah.
green vegetables. This is kind of that like that, except it's green and made of light and burns everything that touches it.
Right, and the red lightsabers are like tomatoes.
Yeah, exactly. That's how it works. It's
Yeah.
more like red meat. You don't have too much of it. A little bit.
Oh
a little
yeah,
bit.
that's like
This
cow
is-
for sure.
This is how you actually defeat the Jedis. By the way, you
eat
just
their
chew on their
lightsabers.
Yeah,
lightsaber.
if you eat their
Yeah.
lightsaber, how are they gonna fight you? They don't have a lightsaber.
Exactly.
Krim, can I
Exactly.
ask a question? Is that
Yeah.
the moon from frickin' Majora's Mask behind you?
No,
That's a Death Star.
that's the Death Star.
Because it looks
Why
like it's
would
the
you-
eye from the moon. I don't know why.
It's the-
It has the lines on it though, like the beam.
Yeah, but the moon has the lines too.
No, it doesn't. Hold on. Bring up the moon
No,
from
no.
Majora's
You know what it
Mask.
looks like? It's not the Majora's Mask moon. It looks like the moon from Sonic Adventure 2.
The
The
what?
Eggman. It's
The-
it's
the
it's the
Eggman?
Eggman moon.
The Eggman moon.
Oh my
It's
god.
literally the Death Star. What are you talking about?
It's the Death Star. Like, yeah. And
Yeah,
come on.
see, the chat's agreeing with
Come
me.
on.
It's the arc from Sonic Adventure 2.
Oh my god, Sonic. I have to look this up, and I forgot what that looks like. Sonic Adventure.
It's just the moon, but Eggman's face.
Yeah, with a big long.
Space Colony arc. Yeah, this is
It's the
Oh
same.
yeah, that I can
One
see
to
it.
one. 1-to-1. Yeah, wait, hang on. It's the Death Egg, isn't it right, Krim? The Death Egg?
No, that's not the Death Egg. That's something else.
Oh, there we go.
The Death Egg is in the Space Colony arc are
Two different
different
things.
Death Egg-
things. And
listen,
don't you fucking
Death-
talk to me.
Okay,
Sonic
listen.
Hedgehog,
The Death
Hedgehog.
Egg. The Death Egg is what is like a metalhead trans girl that hasn't come out yet. That's what
Yes.
that is.
Yes, absolutely.
Shell the Hedgehog's
Wow.
a big...
It's amazing that we have two trans people in the chat, and we're just now talking about Sonic the Hedgehog.
That seems...
Um,
I'll invite you to the Sonic video. But, yeah, no. So this is... Friday's video is going to be an over 90-minute long video about The Last Jedi. And nothing else. There's no twist to this. This is totally exactly what you think it's going to be, and there won't be any point where I pivot into any of my hyperfixations.
you are so bad at like lying. Like we all know that everything you say is just a lie.
Can I give?
I
can
value
give
your
my-
friendship.
No, you can't look. This
Can,
is
can I give my see? I have an opinion. My opinion is that I do think the first three movies are the strongest, but not for the reasons that people might think. I think they're the strongest because I think the more you explain the Star Wars universe, the worse it gets. Also, the best thing about those movies was the friendship between Han, Luke, and Leia.
Also agree.
I think that's my position. I think that the bigger and more epic and like less personal that you make Star Wars, the worse it is. That's my opinion.
I don't disagree with that. I think Star Wars is better as a fun adventure. I think the more you deviate from that, I think that's why it's always been so hard to recapture that magic, because Lucas, without other writers helping him, has a hard time writing friendship.
yeah.
And I think
that's
that sequels what you processed in so many ways. And they've kept the characters apart too much. Like The Last Jedi has everyone apart.
It just makes me so happy when I see Han, Luke, and Leia on screen at the same time, just like riffing off of each other. I love it.
Oh, I agree. Anyway, so
Andor's
that's
the best Star Wars. Just
Wait, what was
Andor's
that?
the best one.
Andor's
the best Star Wars,
fantastic.
yeah.
Andor's amazing. Oh, so I want to thank you both for joining me on this mission down the spectrum of autism. Before we wrap up,
Destination Me. What?
Before we wrap up, do you have anything you want to promote? I'm going to put your channels up on screen real quick. You guys
can
are
go
both
first.
quiet.
Yeah. I Crimson Ender. I have a YouTube channel. That I think Anthony is probably either going to link or say.
Yep,
You can
right
just
here.
search Crimson Ender, all one word, and you'll find me. I'm the cartoon devil guy. There's another Crimson Ender out there, but I think I have more followers than him now. So, haha, sucker.
You've beaten Crimson Ender at his own game.
Yes, and a video I did recently that I'm surprised did as well as it did was the 100 questions for atheists that you could see down there in the corner, where I just fell for bait, but I was so epic and smart about it. I was so big-brained. I really owned the Young Earth creationist. Answers in Genesis, Eat Your Heart Out, Ken Ham, Kiss My Butt. Anyway. I stream more often than I do like full video essays, but I am like working on that too.
And you can see, look, there's people here who I recognize. Right, and this one right here.
Hey, look at that.
Interesting. Who are those people? I don't know. It's almost like I stole your art and put it on the stream or something like that. I don't know. Really strange. And also, Madeline, who are you again?
Hi, I'm Madeline. Also, I just shout out to Krim for that awesome profile he made of me picture. I love it so much.
Yeah, Krim is a fantastic
uh,
artist.
Yeah, we love him. I'm Madeline May. She, her. I make video essays. I have my own very specific autistic ADHD things that I'm interested and obsessed with that make me talk about stuff that I don't know if people like it or not, but I like it. But if you yourself are, as a friend of mine said, a friend of Sonic, then maybe
Oh my goodness.
A friend of
Was a friend of Dorothy
it's not my
thing going
joke.
on
It's
here?
not my joke.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh my
it's-
god.
If you're like, are you motions a friend of Sonic? Yeah. I make video essays about media. I study it. I've got stuff on Harry Potter, Hell of a Boss.
A lot of
Watch
hell
my
to
Bo
bust.
is Me video. I like that one, and nobody watched it. And I have a Matrix video that is a different take than most. I think it's a pretty new take on it. That's going to be coming out very, very soon. I hope. So check that out and stuff.
All right. Well, thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please do. Friday's video will be interesting, I'm sure. I don't think anyone gets mad about Star Wars at all on the internet, right? People are pretty chill about that.
Good luck. Good luck, my dude.
It's actually going to be a Top Chef video. That's the twist.
Oh,
At
there we
the,
go. You'll never see
which
it
is
coming.
over to Gordon Ramsay and all that stuff.
Yeah, I'm gonna step on Lady Emily's territory with making video essays about kitchen nightmares. That's my plan. Anyway,
Swear to God, cis people coming into trans turf, disgusting.
oh, terrible. Anyway, so thank you everyone for watching. I'll see you all very soon.
Bye.
And now I'm just playing music out as I'm doing this. Music's playing right now. I'm sure you can't hear it right now, but it's totally playing right now.
I
Trust me.
can. You can.
You can hear it? Oh.
Yeah.
This makes my explanation very awkward, actually.